Afternoon, thanks for coming. Once again, a fantastic turnout, as normal. It's not enough seats here, unfortunately. I'm sorry about that. We were going to use the other end, but it was a bit noisy last time, as you remember. So we didn't expect so many people today. Absolutely brilliant. Now, I'll kick off. I won't say very much, because there's quite a few speakers today. I'll give you an update from the 1st of May, the correct version. Everybody's seen the internet, the disinformation that's put out there. Sue and myself are still in our home. We are now, yeah, thanks. We're still, our next step is, it's already in the hands of the land registry. They're talking to Bradford and Bingley to get the charge of the house. So hopefully that'll be done in a few weeks' time. Now, the information that was put out there, some people have been really confused. I've seen some of the posts, and I thank everyone that stood up for myself and my family, saying this is a load of rubbish you're talking. So I really do thank you. And for a while I sat down after seeing these posts, thinking, how am I going to respond to this? And after about 10 seconds I stopped and I thought, no, why do negative things? If they want to behave like that, let them do it. What myself and my family and all those that helped us during that period, they've been fantastic. Since the 23rd of July and the 23rd of January, myself and my family and all these other people that helped, that most of you know, all we've done is help other people, because I think from what I got from all those people that came, we have to give something back. Now, we don't have money, but as far as I'm concerned, the most important thing you can give anyone is your own time. That's off your life. You're taking a bit of your life and you're giving it to someone else to help them. So that's all we've done. So those people that's confused about what happened, there's two choices. You can either have faith in us, what we've done is correct. We told you the truth. Well, I told you the truth. Some people said it's lies, it's total nonsense. And the track record of all these people that's helped us for years, and all we've done is good work against the other side, which we're talking about the banks, solicitors, barristers, and then we've got the court system. They're either going to believe us, or they're going to take all the study and what they've done over the years and say that the banks now are perfectly honourable. They gave the man all the money and he's something called, he's a crook. Then you've got to believe that the solicitors and barristers don't lie anymore, right? They're perfectly correct. And then you've got the judge. Now, that judgment that's handed down is absolute goldmine. Now, Guy will tell you later on, there's so much information that we haven't talked about from that judgment, which is going to help a lot of people. So you're going to believe that now you can understand legalese. All these people said, yeah, for years, it's just legalese, we can't understand it. But after our judgment, they did, and they believe the solicitors and they believe the banks. So for those that are confused, that's your choice. You either believe them or you believe us, and it's down to you. But that's us up to date. Now, with response, I don't think Aidy's here, but never mind. With response, what's been happening is the bailiffs haven't been turning up. This is brilliant, because as soon as they hear that response is turning up, they don't turn up. Now, with the team we've got, with Guy, Pete, there's a lot of us. We've got these documents. Now, we intend to send these to the court, and they have to respond to these documents and also to the bailiffs. These will be put out quite soon. But just for a little heads up on it, every time we write to the bailiffs, we ask them within 7 days, notify us if you're coming to the eviction, to the notice of eviction that you claim is being put on these people. If you do not tell us, and we attend, every member of response that turn up will bill you. Right, so we're turning it round on them. We'll be sending them bills from response and making them pay. They will be building up debts. That's the only way to hit them in the pocket, because that's what they've been doing to us and stealing our homes. The other bit, guy going to in the deeper, anyone who's lost their home over the last 25 years or under threat of losing their home, anyone who's under threat of bankruptcy or who is in bankruptcy, we'll give you an email address, send us your documentation, and these new documents that we've got will be sent to those that's trying to do you harm. So that's the good news. Guy may well elaborate on exactly where it goes from there. I don't know what he's talking about, but is he in? Yeah, sorry.
I learned something recently through telephone calls there. Apparently bailiff companies and also bailiffs as individuals, they can't get a licence if they've got a CCJ against them.
That's true. Yeah. Most of them, a lot of them don't even have licences. If we do what we propose to do, all these bailiff companies will, well, not all of them, but a lot of them will shut down. Because what they're doing is totally unlawful and illegal. And we have to shut them down because there's already families been harmed.
That's one way of shutting them down.
Yeah. But you see, when you look into the actual bailiffs that turn up and claim they're High Court bailiffs, they're not High Court bailiffs at all. A bailiff is supposed to be appointed by the court, and his name has got to be on that warrant. And if another bailiff turns up with a warrant with somebody else's name in it, that's a criminal offence and you should be arrested. That's fraudulent. So that's my little bit. I can't take up too much time because there's a lot of speakers. And I believe Michael's going to now talk to us from Luton, who suffered from the bailiffs quite a bit, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Tom, can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah.
Are you going to put notification around to each police station so they actually know what they're looking for?
Well, the thing is, we want to get a meeting with, I've already spoken to 3 inspectors, and I want the Chief Constable, and I want us to have a meeting with all the top police, because we found out that the bailiff company that's down London, well, they're a national bailiff company, they have been instructing and directing the police how to act on evictions. Right. Now this is totally unlawful. So that's why this notice of understanding that any documents that purported to come from a court, they will not question. That's because the bailiffs have done this. So once again, we've got to stop illegal and unlawful bailiffs from acting. Okay, there are times when you do need a bailiff in schools, you know, there's got to be some points where there is some law, you know, somebody's being criminal. But apart from that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are you ready then, Mr. St. Clair?
With no warrant and the wrong details on the notice of eviction. It's all on YouTube video. You can go and have a look at it. And those that are here, everybody knows. But those that are on the internet are talking rubbish. When they try to say, like Tom's done, go Danny Manning. Yeah, oh shit. Quite honestly. You know,
Did Danny not show up?
sorry?
Did Danny not turn up? He wasn't invited. Several times.
We took this off the internet this morning. As of 8 o'clock this morning, we're still the registered proprietors of that house. So, you've got to ask yourself a question.
I'll take you back.
Why have they not changed the deeds? And I'll come to that in a minute. But it says here the lender are called Mortgages Limited. Now, something what Tom said about instructing the police. Well, we got the IPCC involved in our case, and there's a young, I call him a bulldog, barrister, has taken our complaints over. And Luton police are shitting themselves. Because they've also got an invoice now for £50,000 for wrongful arrest and false eviction. And the poor sergeant who did the eviction has gone on stress leave. But they have written to him and stated that there's going to press no charges against me because the owners of the property in question, the Yorkshire Building Society, don't wish to pursue any charges. So we said, how come it's now Yorkshire Building Society? My mortgages are called mortgages. So they've definitely sold it. The police turned around and said, that must be fraud. So now they're investigating them again. Well, we had a court hearing before Chief Justice Marsh, who's another crook and a liar and a thief, and I hope it's being videoed because I want him to do something about it if I'm wrong. He relied on section 27 of the Land Registration Act. Section 27 states that if there's been a transfer or a sale of the charge, it's got to be registered. We had 6 months, and there's someone else sitting in the room that we asked the land registry judge, who's been a judge on that panel for, to my knowledge, 11 years. 15 minutes it took her to answer how long it takes. 6 months they've got to register their change. So they're well out of time of doing it. She had to admit it. When we gave her our documents, Judge Alistair McAllister turned around and said, my God, do you realise what will happen to the mortgage market if I ruled in their favour? It'd be collapsed. And she asked the poor little barrister who would look up from his piece of paper to help her. Yet when we get the transcript, none of that is in the transcript. But we've got it on tape. So if anybody wants a copy of the tape, they're more than welcome to have it. I've got documents there that quite clearly show anybody with a called mortgages or with Yorkshire Building Society mortgages do not have any rights to their property. They've securitised and sold off with full title guarantee all their interest benefits of those mortgages. There is a list in that document which we gave to Judge Marsh. Said to him, well, that's my mortgage, that's my reference number. Oh, but they don't have to give you notice. I said, well, okay. Well, what about the 10 that they never took on? What do you mean? I said, well, there's 10 mortgages that are exempt from that sale. No. I said, yeah, look at page 32. What does it say? There's 10 loan agreements which are not parties to that sale. So obviously, they've sold it. Oh, well, that's irrelevant. We're not there. So, like Tom says, they're so corrupt. If you don't tie them down, you are going to get nowhere. They are just going to, excuse my French ladies, piss us about and run rings round us. Now, we need now to put the best brains together and crack one case. Now, I don't want to go and make applications in the High Court because they will use my cases to bowbreak anybody else that comes in after me. So I've got to be really careful about how I pursue any action in the court. Now, I mentioned Brad. He was recommended to me by someone else. The guy is a complete waste of space. He's a bankrupt. He's lost about 5-6 companies. He's never ever, to my knowledge, helped anybody else at all. He speaks all the crap under the sun on YouTube. He did 4 applications, listed them all separately. I've held this company off for 6 years until that time. And then they get before Judge Marsh and he says, oh, we've got to put a restraining order on you now because you've done 4 applications. When I showed the documents to someone else, he said they could have all gone on to one document. So anybody that's doing any court cases here now, I stress to you very, very carefully, only rely on people you know and you can trust, because the internet, as we've seen and we've known, is just full of trolls. They're working for the other side and they will screw you before the day's out. Now, we're not going to give up because we know we're right, and out of the 9 judges that we have, not one of them can turn around and say to me your documentation is wrong, because under this clause or under this paragraph it's wrong. We've had section 27, we've had 58, we've had, oh, you've not had equitable notice, you've had no notice of assignment, everything else but the truth. They're so corrupt, until you get into it and you see for yourself, you will never ever know. So if anybody wants these documents or copies of them to read and haven't noticed, I'm quite more than happy to give them to you. But what I will say is be very careful who you trust, because like Tom's instance, the rats come out and it isn't even dry on the paperwork. So that's all I've got to say. I wish you all well, and hopefully we're going to win.
He was evicted, and like a hero, which we all you people are, and Response and all the other groups, he went back and he took his property back, and the police do not know what to do because he's right and the banks are wrong. So I've got to applaud you for it. And that's what we're going to do. That's why I said contact us. So for 25 years, we'll start taking these properties back. We won't put other families out if they're in it, but you'll get your compensation. That's the way forward. Hit them in the pocket, because as Michael says, we're in a war just now, and you're all in the front line. And I really seriously mean it is a war. There's casualties out there. Even during the First and Second World War, misinformation, disinformation was spread everywhere. We even had people like Lord Haw who'd put out all this information through the radio saying, oh, your wife is sleeping with someone, go home, you're losing a battle. Even way back then, disinformation has been used to drive you down and take away your confidence. So don't let them do that anymore to us. Just stick with what you know, your gut feeling and your belief in your fellow man. And if anybody's doing something negative, let them do it. Just don't respond to them. That's what I did. I gave them 10 seconds thought, and after that I thought, that's totally negative, it's draining me, I don't need it. So, anyway, are you ready, Pete? Would you like to?
Yeah, as long as the sound's going to work.
Right, I'll sing if not.
Really good. If you could look at his video that's on YouTube about decapitalisation and securitisation. If you could look on there and he will give you information on getting subject access requests.
That from the UK column one interview.
Yeah. So if you could look at that guy will do it. I was supposed to show you his video, but it's not working.
So it's also on Sri Lanka Seaside if you don't, if you want to look for it.
Yeah, he is. And also, Bastion Radio. Everybody knows that. I must apologise, I was the one that brought them down. It was my fault with Capita. They're the ones that own our securitisation. And we started digging into Capita, which is owned by David Cameron's family. So you can understand that big wheels are moving within the organisation, and this brought this radio station down, which I sincerely apologise for. That's all I've got to say. You ready?
On a similar subject, the Cobra meeting, the Cabinet Office briefing room,
Oh yes, that went
that's
ahead.
run by Serco.
Yeah.
So
And who owns
Serco
Serco?
involved
Yeah.
in national security of the UK
Oh,
today,
yeah.
this very day when they're having a meeting.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
absolutely disgraceful. Everything is clear.
Anyone who's ever approached the government
Talking on Cobra, as you say, that they're having a meeting, and we joke when we go down to London, Michael's been in our meetings, we claim that they call Cobra, which is a snake, which is a symbol of evil. That's what they've chosen. So we call ourselves the anti-venom.
I mean, you say that. If you look at actually who own a lot of the organisations that are running our country,
The name Revoking comes up.
yeah, it will find, it really will. I mean, we're never going to give
The
up.
entire system is now, the New World Order is a corporation basically.
Oh, yeah.
And the
Yeah.
very worst kind of people running it, that's what, if you believe in it.
Point is, we've been asleep. It's out.
We have, yeah.
We got Peter all ready to talk, and he's going to talk about why you should use green foliage when a flower arranges. Isn't that correct?
The glass things you put in the bottom of the box. It's the whole story.
That's the funny of the trick, is it?
Peter Kroll.
I'm not gonna talk very much. So at the risk of boring everybody, I hope it's not going to be. I just want to run a 15-minute video clip. And it's that some of the people in the room would already know that I'm getting very interested in how the councils do their accounting. So anybody that's got any money issues with any local councils, or in fact any government organisation at all, this is going to be very interesting. It's about the what's referred to as the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. In England it's called the Annual Financial Statement or something similar. And recently somebody sent me an email with some English equivalent of what the Americans have been working on. And at the end I'll put, you're getting video, didn't it? So I'll put a Word page up with a few links on that you can go and get some more information. So what I wanted to do was to just run this video clip because it's very short and it actually explains the basic bones of what's being looked at. And so he can explain it much better than me because I don't really know enough about it yet. So just hope you enjoy it. Just run it. Maybe I'll answer some questions afterwards. And just as if anybody's interested, there are at least 2 cases that are going to go through the courts sometime soon that's going to challenge the council on the basis of this.
Anyone who has ever approached a government agency just to see what they do and how they do it can tell you they didn't get very far. Government seems to be at least as secret as any corporation, if not more so. This government secrecy goes back well before terrorism was a general concern. Our public agencies are not so public when it comes to disclosing their own conduct, their finances, their inside operations, and their productivity. Well, it turns out, just like many people and organizations that like to be secret, they do have something to hide. It's called the CAFR, The CAFR is the name for the financial accounts of any public agency. It stands for Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, and it is standard to all government agencies. Your courthouses have them, school districts have them, city, county, and state governments all have CAFRs. But up until recently, hardly anyone except government insiders have even heard of the CAFR. The hard numbers are in the CAFR. This is true reporting of all accounts, flows, and holdings. When media reports anything about public finance, this is what they should be talking about. But you may have noticed they only seem to talk about this thing called the budget. The budget is something very different. For government, the budget is not so much an accounting tool as a propaganda hallucination. A budget is a projection, a goal, a target. In accounting terms, the budget is referred to as inferior to the CAFR accounts. Suppose your county has a gazillion dollars in the CAFR, but they tell you they have no budget for dog catcher. Well, that's okay. That may be exactly right. They have a bunch of money, but they have budgeted nothing for dog catcher. This community has decided that stray dogs are not a problem, so fine. That has nothing to do with any shortage of funds. It's just a budget decision. They might tell you that they don't have the money for the dog catcher, but that would be just to appease the small minority who have lost their dogs. Now say they budget $1 million for mosquito abatement. Now they've decided to go into those CAFR accounts and set aside $1 million. The media tells us the county budgeted $1 million for mosquito abatement, but they don't tell us, they don't mention the gazillion dollars remaining in the CAFR accounts from which they are dispensing the $1 million. We sit here and believe that when they spend that $1 million, there will be nothing left. They have us thinking that the budget is all there is. While we are duped into thinking government is broke, they are sitting on, in this case, nearly $1 gazillion in many special off-budget accounts, and you don't see that unless you look at the CAFR. So now what happens if mosquito abatement goes over budget and costs $2 million? Well, since you and I don't know about the CAFR and that gazillion sitting in the accounts, the nightly news comes crying to us, telling us the county has gone over budget, run out of money, and they need to raise taxes or borrow to pay the extra $1 million for the mosquito abatement. Remember, your media does not audit the CAFR. They just say whatever government says. So here's a real-world example of CAFR magic. In 2007, the County of Los Angeles had an operating budget of $17.5 billion. In 2007 was the beginning of a protracted recession. Government was constantly complaining about budget shortfalls, austerity, belt-tightening, robbing Peter to pay Paul, and the necessity to raise taxes and extend the public debt. You would expect LA County's budgets over the next few years to be flat or to go down. In the 5 years between 2007 and 2012, LA County raised its operating budget from $17.5 billion to $25.8 billion. They're projected to spend 47% more in 2012 than 2007. In the middle of a recession, where did that money come from? Yes, they borrowed. Yes, they raised taxes, but not that much. They moved money around in the CAFR, and presto, they came up with $8 billion more per year out of thin air. From a money skimming and laundering standpoint, the old organized crime families from the past would be green with envy at the size and scope of this operation. Compared to government, the private criminal class looks like a bunch of kids selling lemonade on the street corner. Of course, the government would arrest you if you did what they do, but they don't like the competition. So this business of borrowing and raising taxes makes no sense at all once we know about what those special funds are hiding in the CAFR. By not telling us about the CAFR, they can send the tax man to come and squeeze us for the extra $1 million for the mosquito abatement. It's a big lie. They know it's a big lie, but it has worked 10,000 times in the past. If they can pretend to be broke, and we will believe them, then why shouldn't they go ahead and rob us? They're so good at it by now, they deliberately underfund almost everything to make the budget look tight. And the media never questions the real finances. And they regularly come to us with their hand out for unexpected cost overruns. How many times have we heard that? By now, when we hear them say unexpected, we should say, well, I'm expecting it. Why aren't you? In the private sector, bad planning causes embarrassing disasters. In government, bad planning is a tactic for raising revenue. So a naive and idealistic taxpayer would expect that all the money in the CAFR would be budgeted for some government program. Well, that would be silly. Why should they do that? You and I have no idea what's in the CAFR. They can let that money sit there and languish, and we will never know the difference. Our media and our schools have dumbed us down on all things finance, and government likes it that way. By diverting our attention away to the petty and irrelevant issues, our media, our schools, and our politicians create an intentional void and vacuum in the public mind. So we're thinking about anything except where the real money goes. If this sounds like I'm talking about a big plot to steal and misappropriate most of our public funds, I am. As soon as the revenues come in the door, your government finance bureaucratic whiz kids skim off large chunks into secret funds, and they keep that money off budget and hidden so they can invest it, compound it, reinvest it, and keep all those piles of cash in-house. Now, why would they want to do that? Of course, when a politician puts away big fat piles of money, he can use those millions or billions to back his buddies with investment capital. He can make his buddies rich or make new buddies by making them rich. And you know how that works. If I make you rich, I think some kind of kickback would be in order. Another reason for our officials and bureaucrats to pack away money is to protect their job security. When government agencies start running out of money, they start firing people. So every bureaucrat, every official, every agency has a major incentive to pack away as much secret money as possible and keep it in a nice, handy, liquid account. And this has been going on for a very long time. Government's income from just investments is now twice as much as revenue from taxes. Many people find that hard to believe. Let me say that again. Government revenue from investments is twice as much as revenue from taxes. We could stop paying taxes tomorrow, and government would still have twice as much wealth and revenue than it needs to operate as it does today. And that secret stash grows bigger every day. Government is no longer a tax and spend operation. It is a tax and keep operation. Government revenues are constantly flowing into secret off-budget special funds, never to be seen again by the public. They are brilliant in coming up with names for these accounts that sound important and reasonable. There are rainy day funds, emergency funds, backup funds, set-aside funds, pension funds, discretionary funds. These are all just ways of saying, I am taking your money and I am not giving you anything in return. None of that money directly pays for any benefits, programs, or services for you and I. So we have to stop being fooled by this nonsense about this other thing called the budget. If you put aside a household budget of $400, you're going to spend $400 a month for your groceries, and then 1 month you need $450. Do you go and rob a gas station? No, you take $50 out of your bank account. Governments have bank accounts, and they have investment accounts, just like we do, but they keep that a secret. And to see that secret, you have to look in the CAFR. So when the media and our public officials start talking about having a budget crisis, really what we should just laugh and say, so what? Change the budget. Don't bother me, show me the CAFR. Let's get an independent audit of that CAFR. If they're going to pretend they don't have any money, I guess we have to point it out to them. So we need to stop talking about the budgets and start looking very closely at the CAFRs. Media needs to break its silence to this. The political parties need to get this into their platforms. Politicians need to stop playing stupid and treating us like children. We need to audit those CAFRs, every single one of them, and we need to demand that those funds be used to eliminate the crippling taxes that are accomplishing little more than creating those secret accounts. So where do they park that money? Government owns majority stakes in companies like Microsoft, Time Warner, Disney, and Exxon, government owns over 70% of all the primary blue-chip major U.S. corporations through investment in U.S. stock markets. You heard me right. 70% of the stocks of most of the big-name major corporations in domestic and foreign stock market exchanges. So what is good for GM may not be good for you, but it certainly is good for that for-profit investor called government. So as a small investor, how do you compete with one large single investor that has swallowed 70% of the investment market? The wealth that you and I should be making by investing in the stock market has been taken in taxes and is being made by government with your money. And the government is not sharing that wealth back with you. Government is not serving you, it is eating your lunch. Since government gets rich along with corporations now, it's no longer particularly interested in passing any real onerous regulations for public benefit. Government now passes laws and international trade policies that enrich corporations in which government is invested and from which it profits. In the interest of profits, government has created some very bad foreign policy, like invading and making war in places where our corporations covet the resources, or by permitting American corporations to hire dirt-cheap foreign labor, or by opening trade with countries that have next to no human rights and environmental protections. Make money here, pollute over there. Government is now the profiteer. It is the exploiter. Government uses all its power, force, and lawmaking authority to make corporations wealthy, because that makes government wealthy. So among the many crimes here, government blew open the doors on global trade, exploitation, and plunder. The side effect of that global plunder is the destruction of America's domestic wealth, prosperity, and sovereignty. By forcing American workers to compete with cheap Asian labor, this two-headed monster of corporations and government on a global rampage is bringing the American standard of living down to something like the Chinese bicycle-riding classes. Suddenly, a little protectionism doesn't sound too bad. Every dollar that sits in the backroom ledgers of the CAFR and goes into foreign investments is capital that in America creates no jobs, improves no standard of living, relieves no tax burdens, provides no government services or programs, and only serves to enrich and empower government insiders and financial elites. If the CAFR fraud is not fixed, America has no future. Here are some links where you can find out more. The most important thing is that we must move forward on independent audits of our local and state agencies' CAFRs, and we must return that money to the taxpayers or redirect the wealth to the public benefit. Send messages to your media and your representatives that you don't care about the budget and you want to see the real accounts. You want to know what is in the CAFR. More than 10 years ago, Walter Burien discovered the CAFR fraud and has worked to organize a national movement to perform audits and redirect all this public wealth back to the public benefit. Burien believes that by opening up the CAFRs, taxes could simply be retired altogether. Find out more at his website at CAFR1.com. Clint Richardson is also an expert in the CAFR issue and has posted useful information and videos. Find him at thecorporationnation.com and realityblogger.wordpress.com. Note that the blogger has 1 G. We need to get the word out on this, and we need to tell our public officials that the CAFR money is ours, not theirs.
I just wanted to basically put it out that we're starting to develop a much more accurate view of what the councils are up to with their finances and the relevance it has to whether we should be paying council tax at all. Because the figures that a lot of people have come up with suggest that they're sitting on reserves that are so huge that they could actually give us a rebate let alone us paying any council tax. Because the investment schemes that they're running with the accumulated wealth, which is our money originally, is big enough to actually run the place without any taxation input from ourselves. And that's what these guys are working on in America. And the reason why I put this up is that the UK situation was researched by Clint Richardson in California because somebody here asked him if he could find out anything about the equivalent in the UK. And so if you go onto that site there, that's a big long video that Walter Burien did. It's very dry, but it's very, very interesting. 2.25 hours. And the Clint Richardson ones explain a lot more how it works in America, and in the UK one, you'll start finding links to the CAFRs that are published in Britain. They're due to come out at the end of June, I think, and it makes it much more understandable for us on this side of the Atlantic. So Clint Richardson is a guy who's really, really worth watching and reading on his blogs. Very sharp cookie indeed. CIPFA.org is the Chartered Institute of Public Finance Accountancy or Accountability. They have the Section 151 officer is the chief finance officer in every council. They have to have one of those people by law. CIPFA is the accountancy institute that the 151 officers have to be accredited by, or qualified by, or whatever it is. So I just encourage everybody that you've got any interest in mismanagement of our lives and finance by councils, absolute gold mine to read through. There's a lot of material, but as I said before, there are already 2 cases that are going to be going through the courts soon, using this information to hold the councils to account over council tax specifically.
I just want to make a point. If anybody wants to see how much councils do invest, just have a look at how much they lost in the crash in Iceland.
Yeah.
They were investing in Iceland up to, I think Barnsley Council lost up to £80 million.
Yes.
Which...
Nottingham City Council lost 50 million.
I have a little bit of info regarding that situation. A lot of us were wondering, when that crash happened in Iceland, a lot of us were wondering what the money was doing there in the first place. We thought it was just parked there, perhaps, or whatever it was. But somebody that I was speaking to 2 or 3 weeks ago actually told me that he has information, and I still need to get the links for it, that what councils do with all of this spare money, or some of it, is that they lend it to banks so that the banks can then lend it out to us again. So if you want a fraud that's got a double whammy to it, I'd say that's pretty serious. But he actually has evidence on the internet that that's what they do. And as far as I know, it's widespread. So that's about it, folks. Thank you very much.
Actually, the real reason why Iceland did what they did was because they got on to get out of debt free. So, Lee, could you give Guy a holler? So,
well, thank you very much, Peter. That's absolutely
Yeah, up and there. Sorry, I'll just wait until he was
So now we're waiting for Mr. Freedom. If people were here last meeting, so we'll give him a cheer for Mr. Freedom when he comes in. Just all shout out Freedom, because that's what he did at the last meeting.
Oh yeah, I'll be around. Yeah, sure.
And shall we have a break? Would that be? Yeah, we'll have a break just now and we'll get back in about 20 minutes. We'll leave Guy speak to himself. Hello. Michael, behave yourself.
Just tighten Walker on.
Yeah. Right, we're second half, and we've got Kai Holloway, who is going to be talking, which I believe is the most important subject that's going to affect our lives over hopefully a short period. The use of grand juries, because we need to indict these criminals. They've got their own courts, and we need to start our own, and we need to bring them to justice. It's no good them using shadow courts, and we're all basically just capitulating in front of them. They're running roughshod. We need our own courts, and they need to be jailed, these criminals. They've caused misery in this country. So, Guy Holloway.
Right, okay. We all know the police do not work for us. Am I correct in this situation? Yeah. We all know that they have many oaths and declarations that they all take, and they all do these certain, they've got different people that they work for. Namely, the people is one. What's the difference between a policeman and yourself?
Nothing, a uniform.
Well, there is something different. And you are more powerful than a policeman under common law. That's simple. That's simple, purely because of the declarations and oath they've all taken. They've diluted their power, they've taken it away, and they've got other masters that they're serving at the time of looking at you. So, saying that, if you're more powerful than a policeman, what do we do? What is the best scenario out of that situation? If everybody has the right of arrest under common law, what is the situation? What do? We arrest him. We arrest them. And that's me finished. Ultimately, right? So, ultimately, right, I'm not going to talk too much about the grand juries. We've got our man Guy and Michael has turned up to assist him with this. So they guys can talk about the grand juries and whatnot. I'm going to talk about the peacekeeper process, and ultimately, practically everyone in this room has been wronged by these forces that call themselves police. Am I wrong? No. Everyone's had a brush with them, So, ultimately, everybody, if you've been harmed by someone, we're talking about do no harm, take no shit, So, if you've been harmed by someone, we need 2 witness statements. Plain and simple, 2 witness statements. If you've been harmed in any way, shape or form by anyone, and I'm talking about the banks, I'm talking about judges, I'm talking about police, I'm talking about anyone who has caused you harm. If you've got 2 witness statements, we've got to take it to the grand juries that are getting set up. If you take those to these grand juries, they can issue an arrest warrant for said person. They can prove there's a claim to be seen or a case to be heard. A judge cannot overrule a case to be heard that's been judged by 12 to 24 people. It's impossible. They just can't do it. So what we are effectively saying is, if everyone becomes peacekeepers, we all have more power than them.
I will sign up.
We can sort that out in a minute. But essentially, we are more powerful than them. We've just got to unite and start acting like it. We're so fragmented on fracking and GMOs and gay rights and God knows what. Stop killing dogs in Taiwan, But we've got to focus. You can't not, we're all running around in our own little bubbles. Come on. These guys are organised. You can tell they're organised. We turn up, no guy turns up to a court case. They know the fuck is coming. So they've got police already. They've got a special judge perhaps. They know, they're organised. We need to do the same, people. Please, you know what I mean? And, We can all talk about, if we can get the corrupt out of our society by uniting, everything else will fall into line. It's plain and simple. It really is so simple. But we've got to sit, you know, the guys in Nottingham have got to start meeting now, regularly, picking each other, you know, going, right, what are we going to do? Who are we going to go for? What judges? What judges in Nottingham are the real bastards?
Well, you shut the court down, full stop.
Well, I mean, we can talk about Article 61 and all the rest of it, you know, but I personally don't think seizing a court at this point in time is going to do us any favours, or any government building. Whoever said that, was it yourself? I don't think, they're just going to come in mob-handed at some point, yeah? So, but what we can do is perhaps get a couple of witness statements for whoever made the warrant to come and take the court back, or, you know, there's other ways to work at it. But ultimately, 2 witness statements can put them in so much more trouble than what they do to us. And it's that simple, it's that easy, it really is. And, you know, I can sit here talking about, you know, police oaths. Doesn't matter, you know, they work for many, many different people. But we're all here working for the love and humanity of man. Am I wrong? We are all consciously open and we understand there's something really evil and something going on here. So it's really simple. Really simple. And all we need to do is sit together and work it out. It's that simple. 2 witness statements per crime. Get it to your grand jury, which will be set up very shortly. There's people walking behind the lines now. Like Michael, Guy, everybody's working really hard. And we're hoping shortly to have our own court premises, which will be absolutely amazing. To have our own court places, halls, all the rest of it, proper coaches under the UCT, so that for the people they will be never be able to take them back. Yeah? So if we can use these courts, but ultimately we want to have the grand juries going all the time. There's so many cases to be heard, so much right to put wrong. Yeah, you know? Yes?
Can I be a judge?
You be a judge. You can be a judge. Ultimately, yeah, so this concept is really easy. We got to start policing the police. We all know they're committing a crime when they pull you over and extort money off of you. A policeman can't do that, he's well out of his jurisdiction, he's just judged on you. He's one man. We know it's unlawful, but we can't deal with it by sitting in our car and saying, oh well, are you on your oath? 9 times out of 10 you're going to get your window smashed and you're going to get pulled out that motor. Yeah? But what we can do is say, right, there's 2 people in the car, we've both got a witness statement, right, let's get to our local grand jury meeting that's on Wednesday. Put the case in, get a case to be held. Arrest warrant raised, proper gold seal under the UCT. Yeah? And you've got something more powerful than anything they've got. Anything they've got. They give you warrants that are photocopied, but it's crap paper. Not even a warrant. There's not been a case held. We all know that. But ours, they'll look at it, it'll look like a treasure map. You know what I mean? They just won't be able to believe what they're looking at. But ultimately, we know they can't get out of it. And especially with our own courts, our own system, our own people looking at the cases, sorting it out, we have got to essentially set up a new police force out of theirs. And we will purely concentrate on them and their misdeeds, their dodgy, fraudulent paperwork, their extortion of the people, their unlawful jailing of people, stealing children, all the rest of it. But the only way, people, and I can't say it enough, you've got to concentrate on one thing. You know what I mean? You can talk about loads of other different, yes, we all know the world's got many, many issues. Can we just sort the main one out?
It all stems from one place, doesn't it?
One place. We all know that. Yes, Mark?
Mark from Coventry Peacekeepers.
Excellent work he's doing, by the way.
One of the things that I think is relevant to mention is that whatever we're doing as individuals, whatever cases we're all going against, whatever courts we're up against and police, we should not be doing it alone. We should be doing it as groups of people.
Absolutely.
Because what Kai said about needing 2 witness statements, it kind of leads into that. If there's several of you turning up at a police station or a court or whatever action you're doing, then you've automatically got a couple of peacekeepers that are witnesses. So that's really absolutely essential. We shouldn't be going off.
This is it. Straight away, you've got your witness statements.
Do things.
Five people
We need to network and connect with peacekeepers. Kai is coordinating it. That we've got peacekeepers in each city, and we're growing. We're still recruiting, but we're growing. That you're not doing things alone anymore. You haven't got to face the council.
This is the thing, we've got to unite, and this is the main thing about this, it's unification of people.
It's the backbone, it's the backbone of everything else.
That's what it's all about. They have so disenfranchised us all from each other. We're all going, oh, I don't like your shop, oh, your car's too fast, oh, your car's too green. You know, but it's all fucking nonsense. Really. Let's just sort the core of the problem out. All of us.
And if we keep reporting crimes and nothing happens, we're going to have to do something about it, aren't we? If they're not doing anything about
exactly.
it,
I mean, our
time
whole thing,
and time again.
Our whole thing, if we have got an arrest warrant, we've got about 200 people on our books now, yeah, which is not enough. Out of 70 million people, it is nowhere near enough, yeah. We need 200 people in each city, town, council, all the rest of it. If we can get an arrest warrant, we'll go do the arrest.
Yeah.
We don't need police to do that arrest. It's every common law man's right to arrest, especially when you know there's been a crime. And if you've got a warrant in your hand, we don't need to be bringing them. Yeah, now where we deliver them, that's something we're working on. Yeah, hence why we need our own courts. But but then what we've got is section 25 where we can put the police under pressure if we've got a warrant and say, well, no, you're causing misconduct in a public office. But that goes under it. But ultimately, the way I see it, the peacekeepers collaborate all this evidence and they make it work. That's the grassroots level of it, is the peacekeepers. And they submit the 2 witness statements, they do the work, they get the grand jury set up, they sort their areas out. And we've all got to do that. You care about your area, don't you, Guy? You care about your area, don't you? Your town? We all care. So let's act like it, let's unify, let's start talking to neighbours, let's get it done.
There have actually been several grand juries that have sat already.
There have been,
so
yes, absolutely.
You're suggesting that there's a unified thing?
No, I think grand juries should be a regular event in every council, Peter, in every week.
Necessary.
Absolutely.
In every community.
Every community, this is the point, it's got to be a regular community thing, and maybe every Wednesday there's 70 cases to go through in that. It'll certainly be busy at first, until it's cleaned up. But every area needs it. But we can all do it under the UCT, yeah, so we're all covered.
What's that mean?
The United Community Trust. Universal, I'm sorry. Universal Community Trust. Michael can explain a bit of that, or it's online. But this is what it's about. Go on.
Just wanted to say also, I've sat on a couple of grand juries.
You
and
have.
For anybody that's worried about it, it is really interesting.
Yeah, I bet it is. I and it's. I think, like I say, Michael and Guy are going to go into that in a minute, so they can do the grand jury. I mean, essentially my expertise is just trying to unify all you lot and make you lot understand you are more powerful than your police.
And have a bottle to arrest them.
And have a bottle to arrest them.
Yeah, we've got to arrest them.
We've got to do it.
I'd just like to say, I went into British Gas were applying for a warrant for my house to change the meter. And it was the 3rd time of being. The first time they adjourned it, saying that they needed a different date.
Yeah.
I went to that date and British Gas didn't turn up.
Yeah.
Then they sent me another one saying, right, we're coming out. So I'd sent them already a fee schedule saying that every time I turn up to court and they don't get a warrant, it's 1,500 quid. So now they're £4,500 in debt with me. What happened was I went to the last one, and the regular guy that was normally there didn't turn up. He was sick on leave. And I said to the warrant guy, I said, look, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go in, I'm going to put you on the stand, I'm going to give you a copy of this, section 2 of the 2006 Fraud Act. I'm going to ask you if you understand it, and then I'm going to ask you why you're asking for a criminal warrant in a civil matter, and you're then going to admit that you're committing a crime to the magistrates. And he just went white as a sheet, gave me the unsigned warrant and said, I'm not going in.
Because what they're using is the 94,
96,
but they're putting it through under the 58 Act or whatever, aren't they? Yeah.
So as long as you go in and you're assertive and you tell me
but ultimately you're stepping into an unlawful situation anyway. So, if you can collaborate the evidence, have somebody with you at all times to collaborate the evidence, two witnesses, and anyone that touches you with that paperwork or representative from British Gas or any bailiff, arrest the fuckers.
Well, that's what I said to him. I said, as soon as you do that, I'm going to then arrest you.
Well, this is it. But we have walked away now. 2 witness statements, grand jury, you're completely covered. You will not get chucked into the back of a van and taken off yourself. You're completely covered. And that is simply it. That is.
Are you sure that you're completely covered? Because these people will do anything
Absolutely.
to get you in the van,
No,
get
false,
you to the police station.
Under law, you are.
Yeah, under law.
Yes, but they don't.
No, that's fine.
No,
They
no.
might turn up here in tanks now and try taking us out, yeah? And if they turn up with tanks and guns, we'd probably all leave, wouldn't we?
Well, no, but then you realise you're actually in a civil war you're in. I mean, people have got to realise you're in a civil war, Seekers. We are in civil war. And just because there isn't weapons on the streets doesn't mean it's not happening.
But there is.
Well, there is, one side.
The weapons are envelopes going to your door, trying to take your property, trying to do shit to you. We're getting bombs dropped all day long.
Exactly.
I mean, we're all
I know I've got that label on me now anyway, just because of what I'm doing. But we know we stand on the law.
It's like in my case, when they put me out as a domestic terrorist, an FBI, the solicitor didn't even have the guts to come to court and say it.
I mean,
when I said to the judge, well, he's committed perjury and fraud, I want a warrant for his arrest. Oh no, I'm taking no notice of that, don't worry. But you've already had it, you've signed it, put it into court.
Well, I've got an arrest coming up, and if it goes off, everyone will hear about it. And more than probably, I will end up I will disappear for a couple of months, and I hope that's when I need all you guys to start going, no. But if it comes off, well, I don't know what they're going to throw at me, but ultimately there's a big one coming up as a showcase propaganda. If we can do it right.
If you don't mind me saying, which is it's about growing our numbers, is every single person in this room, right, should be volunteering for being peacekeepers. Even
Absolutely.
If you've got half an hour a week.
Absolutely.
Well, give Kai your number, give your address and your phone number, and start getting involved. Because Kai will coordinate and say who else is in your area. And we've got to start recruiting people, really. And I know I bang on about it, but every single person in this room should be a peacekeeper.
You're absolutely right. There was a time on this island where everybody had a duty to be a peacekeeper in their own community.
That's right.
Everybody, when required.
Absolutely. Sorry.
The police don't work for us, it's on their helmet. They work for the Crown Corporation, which is a corporation.
Yeah.
Which is something that's dead.
Absolutely. But then even out of that jurisdiction of the oath they've done for the Crown, they're still committed to look after humanity, as we all are. If you see a crime going on, we all are.
Well,
so whether they put on a badge or take a salary, it means bugger all.
How can you look after fiction? I'm alive, they're not.
Yeah.
They're looking after something that's dead.
Yeah.
This is why we're not saying that to them, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right,
yeah.
But the thing is, they're not actually working for the Crown Corporation anymore, because if you look at who actually runs their particular police force on company check or something like that, it will tell you who...
Private corporation.
They're
Crown
private
Temple.
corporations.
Crown Temple, hidden Crown Monarchy. And that's been I'm trying to put it on your but the Crown Temple is what we will adhere to with the legal profession, right? they're impersonating crown monarchy, so we believe it's coming from the crown monarchy. And
That's all fiction.
yeah, well, no, we know it's fiction. No, we know it's fiction. No. So what do we do to do it right? Right? We can talk.
A policeman, if a copper comes up to me, I'll just say, I'm a man.
Yeah, no, exactly. No. Hey, look, we're all seeing off the same hymn sheet here, right? Okay. Yeah.
Because I asked for your name.
Yeah, but we're all singing off the same hymn sheet, yeah?
Job done.
They don't understand the difference.
Right, let me try it. Hold on, let me try it.
The individual is under certain common law duties to serve the public. In practice, he or she will now be called upon only in exceptional circumstances. Thus, although the maintenance of order is a function of professional police forces, every citizen is under duty to assist in the quelling of disturbances and the maintenance of the Queen's peace. And if a person refuses to accede to the request of a magistrate, sheriff or constable to assist in preserving the peace, he commits the offence of common law, in common law. Yeah? And that is it. Black and white.
That's a duty.
We're obliged. And we know
What was that you just
all
read
these
from?
crimes. It's a common law. I'll give you that bit in a bit. But we are obliged to do this. And when you see such heinous crimes going on every day, all you got to do is unite. And I keep saying it. I sound like a broken record. Unite. And
Sounds like a union.
yeah. Well, you guys are. I don't know who's. Show of hands from Nottingham. Just a quick one. Right, guys, there's more than enough of you of a weekly meet here every week. And there's no excuses.
It's too expensive.
If you don't like, sorry?
It's too expensive here.
Well, okay. How about in a park? Just so you know. But ultimately, you guys should know, have a meet every week. And it's about uniting. And maybe Tom can be the peacekeeper coordinator and Nottingham, I don't, whatever. Yeah?
Volunteer.
You love it so much. But perhaps Tom can coordinate what's going on and sort out the weekly events and all this sort of thing.
Can I just say, for Nottingham there, the first person to volunteer to coordinate the Peacekeepers in here, I'll give him a free t-shirt, Peacekeepers t-shirt. Come on, let's see a hand.
Yeah,
someone.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Who's that?
Nottingham coordinator.
There's your Peacekeeper coordinator.
Nottingham coordinator.
What's the wages?
But on another note, there's a lot of people working on this behind the levels. And if things go correct by the end of the summer, we'll be able to take on a load of peacekeepers properly with the salary. We'll have vans, we'll have all the stuff that we need, and uniforms and nice little metal badges.
I'm not sure I want to be a mirror of what's going on.
No. I mean, we've got to set up a presence. We've got to set up a presence, and we've got to let them know we know. Yeah, and so that when we're in presence, they can't run the boat. It's plain and simple, it really is. And ultimately, the police are going to be one of our first targets, as are the bailiff officers, as are the paedophiles, as are the war criminals, So you guys have got to get busy. Nottingham, who in your area needs taking down? And I'll tell you where to start. Top coppers, judges, clerks, all of that. That's where you work. Councils. Start getting all that. Sorry, my friend.
Is there not a threat of us being labelled as terrorists?
Not under this. Not if we stick to it by the team and all that. The terrorists, no. The terrorists, no.
Domestic? I'm on about with their propaganda, the way we would be portrayed to everybody else.
Well, our plan is, every step of the way we've got social media on our side. So everything will be filmed and fully transparent to the public, to the people, our people. And that is our best defence.
Resistance to tyranny is always brighter than terrorism.
Alright, so just so you can all converse in a minute, that is me basically done. You know the gist of it, you know what I'm saying, and ultimately you all know I'm so right. You've got to unite, you've got to get it on, make a bit of effort. If you want a better world, make the effort. Alright?
Okay, that's Kai Holloway. And I just add to when he says the peacekeepers have got to have this type of different uniform. They must have straw hats.
Sounds like a plan. I think coordinators get straw hats.
Yeah.
Straw hats to depict that it's not a straw man.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a man under a straw. So once again, that was a fantastic talk. And as I said before, the way forward has to be common law and grand juries, because we've got to indict these people, arrest them, and I think we need to buy a lot of pens because the names that we have to use on the list are vast. But once certain ones start getting arrested, once they start going, the rest will either resign, as politicians do when they're in trouble, and police officers, you know, they'll just go, they'll vanish.
Yeah, but we can't allow them to vanish. They still need to face justice for the crimes they've committed against us.
Exactly. Well, it's a war situation we're in. And I've said it, and Kai just said it. This is war, and war criminals are never forgiven. They are punished. It happened in the Second World War. It's going to happen now. So they're going. Yeah. So the next speaker we've got is Michael.
Which one?
That's exactly, that's why I said Michael. So, who would like to go first?
Have you got
Yeah. Screen up there. Right, so this is Michael O'Deary, and I made a mistake before saying it was Peter that was doing the flower arranging.
Can I just make a correction there, Tom? Thank you very much for that lovely introduction, but it's not Michael O'Deary.
Oh dear.
O'Deary.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I wasn't sure who or what to expect this afternoon, so first one I'd like to quash is that I am not, in fact, Michael's warm-up act. However, there's a few. So basically, I want to prepare something that's going to last 10 minutes. So I'll go through it. I'm going to be talking over a series of slides, which I'm hoping are just going to focus us on where we are right now, and also give you my view on how I see things. You won't be able to see this, but this is a very straightforward symbol representing, would anyone like to hazard a guess? No rulers. What does the A represent?
Anarchy.
It's anarchy, right? So there's no rulers, no masters. And this is probably why we're all here today. And it's notoriously difficult to get people together who are very resolutely individualistic. But what Guy's talking about is pretty essential now. And I think Nottingham is as good a place to start it as anywhere for a variety of reasons. I'll go on to the next bit.
I know you're in a position as well.
Press, what have we tried pressing the arrow right up more?
No, yeah. So last weekend on Saturday there was supposedly about 250,000 people who were on the streets of London on what we call a protest. And from my perspective, you know, we see all these protests down the years. There was 1 million people protested against the plan to invade Iraq back in 2003. Ultimately, you know, what does it achieve? Very little, because what's actually going on is this, it's like a splinter in the mind whereby the people who've been shafted by other people who are so-called in authority and running things, or both, you know, they present themselves as being in charge. Well, why would you go and ask them for relief? Why would you go and ask them for the remedy when they're up to the necks in fraud? Whether or not they know it is largely irrelevant. And those people who are, you know, this is where I'm at right now. I have no belief in the state whatsoever. I mean, I know it exists as
psyop, as a psychological and in many ways a realistic construct. But as far as I'm concerned, none of those people have any authority whatsoever over anyone else. You know, we're all autonomous individuals. You know, and the idea, someone asked the question, well, are you not afraid you're going to be labelled a terrorist? Well, is it not clear to us that the real terrorists are those who are purporting to be in charge of the state? And if you think to the Hillsborough disaster back in 1989, 24 years later they come out with some, you know, they eventually have another inquiry, but all the while they're asking the police to investigate something that they were complicit in. And everything's covered up because of the Freemasonic elements and all of that shit. So why on earth are people still insisting on public inquiries? This is where the grand juries come in. We all know that the courts are pretty much not fit for purpose. The levels of corruption have to be seen to be believed. So the idea that we can continue going back and asking those who are falsely claiming that they're in charge to actually provide us with remedy is a schism. A split in the mind, really. It's never going to work. So the only solution is that we get together and we sort it out ourselves, as our ancestors would have done before, you know, the Industrial Revolution, or going back thousands of years to, you know, the ancient tribes of these lands. They would sort it out themselves. If you had a problem in the community, it'd be sorted out. You won't call a copper or someone in authority to come and sort it out. If you look back to 200 years ago, to what was going on in this country, there was the rise of the Chartist movement, there was the corresponding societies, the Jacobins, all, you know, from sort of 1780 right after, and then right through the French Revolution. These were very politically active times in this country when the authorities came down really hard. And we use the same techniques now as they used then. For instance, infiltrating groups, putting spies in place, that kind of thing. Shills, as we call them, you know, someone who's taken the Queen's shilling in order to spread disinformation. Now, what I was reading this book about it, and basically what it was, this guy called E.P. Thompson, it's called The History of the English Working Class. He's talking about how you had all these organisations set up around the country. In London, it was a variety of tradesmen from, you know, various trades, whereas up north it tended to be more more like, you have the miners group, you have the mill workers, there would be people working in one industry. What's interesting as you read through it is to see that largely those that were successful were because they all knew each other. They had that personal contact, that one-on-one. So the idea that we get together once a week or whatever and we start to organise grand juries is a brilliant idea, and it's also very important that we do it face to face with people that we know so we can trust each other. Because at the moment, anyone who's putting out any information that's at all threatening to the federal government or the banking cartels is regarded as a target for all these agents that are out there. Some of whom are crawling out from under the woodwork at a regular basis. But there's a lot of bullshitters out there who I can't probably trust because I only know them through the internet anyway. But if I've met someone and I've looked into his or her eyes, you know, that's a starting point, isn't it? Yeah. So we have to be very aware of that. You know, there is a lot of bullshit out at the moment, and some people will wrongly say that anarchy is chaos and it's a massive threat to society, we can't allow it, and it's just absolute nonsense. And I started off with this a few years ago when I sent a declaration to the Queen instead that I was no longer going to be governor and declared that I was a free man. And I mean, even nowadays, there's a lot of people still getting attacked for that, saying it's all bullshit, it doesn't work. The point that they're missing, and that we'll always miss, is that they think that those in authority have actually got a full grasp of what's really going on, and they're applying the law. And, well, it doesn't work because it's wrong. Well, it's absolute nonsense. It doesn't work because of the levels of corruption that we're dealing with. So as it says there, I think a true anarchist, self-sovereign free man has this philosophical theory in their mind. That is, stop believing and or talking and or acting as if anyone has any rights over you, as if anyone can tell you what to do. And this is where we're at. And as I said at the start, it's very difficult to get people who are of an individual mindset to actually come together and organise things. But boy, when those people do come together, things really start to happen. So, back in the year 600, right, the landscape of Britain was pretty much the landscape of Britain that we still see today. But of course, the names are different. And one of the things that Michael may well be talking about is the Universal Community Trust. We declared last March, the first time we came out and declared openly that we are an anarchist organisation. In other words, there's no hierarchy. No one's in control. It's like, I'm happy to walk alongside someone for a while, but I'm not going to be necessarily following. We declared the Benisri and Dara Anarcho Nation. If you see on the map there, Benisri and Dara was in fact it was Northumberland extended downwards into Yorkshire and probably as far south as Sheffield. But what we've declared is the Dara and Benisri and Dara Anarcho Nation as existing under UCT, under Universal Community Trust, which is a separate jurisdiction to what the Crown's operating effectively. When I say the Crown, of course, I mean the Crown House of Rothschild, because this has been going on for some 200 years now. And as we all know, empires tend to only last about 200 years, so we're in some very interesting time. So the Benisri and Dara Anarcho Nation does actually exist, and we've extended it into Nottingham. So if we were to set up a group of peacekeepers under UCT, it would naturally come into, we could use the Dara and Benisri Anarcho Nation as the vehicle for that, okay? Because we're doing it as real men. We're not involved in these legal fictions. Now, this morning, this is part of the sickness as I see it, the splinter in the mind of the people. I saw this. Britain's public parks threatened with privatisation as cuts to its council budgets. Basically what it's saying is that councils, because of the so-called, the fake austerity measures, are now looking to sell off the public parks because they can't afford to run them anymore. No, they've got no right to do that, they've no right to sell off councils. People, if you belong to anyone. But the public parks, you see, why would people believe that the government is going to, so people, they sent a petition to protect the public parks, but why would people believe that this petition in the government is going to have any effect? Why not take control of the parks themselves, or why not indeed present the information to a grand jury and have the whole thing declared for what it is, and not a land grab, utter nonsense. And of course, what we're dealing here with is the fallout from the Enclosure Acts of around 200 years ago, when they stole the land from the people, and people no longer allowed to hunt game, they were no longer to plant their crops on the land. It was all taken, and of course rents were introduced, which of course then from that point on we have the development of the financial control through the Rothschilds, and then we end up with the situation as it is today with the Great British Mortgage Swindle, whereby people are having their asses stolen from them. It was one big land grab. 27,000 public parks in Britain. But of course, those who read The Independent, which I think this is where it's from, they're still of the statist mindset, where they believe that the remedy can come from those who are oppressing them, which is absolutely crazy. Here's a nice little card to summarise it all. Communism, you have two cows. You have to take care of them, the government takes all the milk. Socialism, you have two cows. The government takes them from you and then sells you the milk. Democracy, you have two cows. Your neighbours are deciding what to do with them. Anarchy, you have two cows. Now, speaking of crimes and crimes against the people of Nottingham, as I can do a great length if I got the chance. This is a particularly well-known criminal. Some say he's the pin-up boy of the Playboy, the pin-up boy of the bailiff crew. I'm not so sure about that. I don't think he's a particular pin-up. That's David Caress, who has committed crimes against many people, yourself included, who have got first-hand testimony against the fella and video evidence that demonstrate his crimes. David Caress is, in essence, a criminal mercenary who operates out of Nottingham County Court and a man who has personally engaged in genocide by evicting thousands of indigenous people from their homes on a fake debt and by way of void court warrants. As such, he is a hired gun who represents a clear and immediate danger to the people of Nottingham and should be arrested to be charged with crimes of genocide.
Yes.
Now, if we were looking to cause a bit of a splash, and I'm not saying we shouldn't be looking to do that, then maybe David would be prime candidate for that. I don't know what his life's going to be like anyway, because once the film comes out, I don't think it's going to be very easy for him to walk down the street without people having to go with him. So for his own safety, perhaps he needs to be taken off the street. If you want to look into a bit more detail some of the things that I've been up to recently, that's my website, Rogue Mail. That's the latest one, an article that I've written, which is quite interesting because it goes through my recent arrest at Newcastle Airport, the trafficking that I was subjected to, touches on Tom's case with good old Nigel Godsmark. I wanted to basically, I think there's quite a few things on there that people will be interested in, so that's just the website. And similarly, if you want to do a bit more research into the grand jury system, its origins, how it's developed, and where we're at right now, I've got a handbook on my website that you can download as a PDF. And that gives you a background to it all, but also I've got first-hand experience of a grand jury because in another hostelry not too far from here, last October, on October 11th, a grand jury convened and it issued a declaration that the abolition of grand juries in 1933 under the Law of Property Miscellaneous Provisions Act was completely unlawful because in the final instance the grand jury is the people's defence against any form of tyranny or corporate fascism, the state that we currently find ourselves in. And if I'll just finish with that. Nice image from the film Kes. Rightful anarchy is the right to disobey the authority and oppression from others. So that's it, Tom. How did I do? Was it 10 minutes or was it a bit longer than that?
I don't time you.
Alright.
Can you put the cows sign back up?
1542.
What sign back up?
The cows.
15, that's not bad. Any questions? I've warmed them up for you, Michael, they're all ready to go. Is he on next?
Well,
Can I have a 10-minute break for cigarettes and wheeze?
yeah.
Weed.
And weed.
Wheeze.
Weed. Okay, so we're going to have another little break. Third section. Right, our next speaker is well known. He's a filmmaker. He's a troublemaker as well. In some sections, other places he's a hero. Like, oh, you're good on next.
No, I'm going on next.
Oh, right. Okay, he is a troublemaker. Right. So this is the Freedom Man. Do you remember why I asked when we started?
Yeah.
So come up, Guy, and it's Mr. Freedom.
Right, first I'd like to say to you, right, I know I'm talking to people already on the page here because I've recognised you all and sort of seen you all, and there might be a couple of people I don't recognise, but I know I'm preaching to the converted, so that's very easy for me, right? But first and foremost, I'd like to say that legalese, right, let's just deal with that, right? What is legalese, right? We know it's a language, we know they use Latin words, we know they use English words, they don't mean ours. So the best definition I've heard of legalese, and it's in the quantum language stuff, but it is this. Legalese is the fraudulent conveyance of language to extort rights and privileges. Summed up, that's it. It's the fraudulent conveyance of language to extort rights and privileges. So then we know they're using a different language in it. Now we've had some we've had some great experiences recently, and there's a lot of things going on. I've got things going on privately, which I'm also trying to help other people with other things. So I'm going to, but it's all connected. Because everything we do is always connected, yeah? You know, no matter what it is. So I'll try and go through it, muddle through it as best I can. I've not got the screen the way I thought it would be, but that's because of my ignorance. So I will...
You need Tom's out.
Yeah? Yeah. But I was just going to show it to the camera for Mark.
Do you have
I'll block this here, but I mean...
have you got the flash?
No, I haven't.
Haven't you?
Off you go, Tom. No, I haven't, I'm not competent enough to bring that. So what I'll do is, because I want people to know this information, I'll show it to the camera so we've got it later to see, yeah? What I'm saying is correct, yeah? So we've got a couple of cases recently that have had big effects on what's going on, but I'm going to take you, I'm up on trial on the 6th and 7th of next month for trespass at Bodnam Manor, a place that my family bought back in the 80s, yeah? So for cash, we had no mortgage. So I'm going to, because it's connected to what's been going on recently, and I can show you the level of criminality that is going on throughout this country, I'm going to show you document by document. I'll tell you about it, I'll show it on the screen, then if everyone goes to Mark's and they want to see what we're saying, they can go and see the documents. Because of course, we're talking to people like Michael, we've got fraudulent documents. Tom, we've got, you know, it's a fraudulent nightmare. But I'll go through it because I'm able to go through it forensically to a certain extent and go through the documents. So let's go. And then I'll lead us into the cases that have been going on recently. So in April last year, and I've done this before a grand jury, 2 grand juries. One grand jury refused me, so that showed, and they refused me for logistical reasons, but they refused me, which shows the power of a grand jury, and the other one has accepted it. But we'll go through it one stage at a time. So, back in April, on April the 2nd last year, I heard there was a phone call at one of our properties, Bodnam Manor, a large estate, so I've gone steaming up there, and there were 30 police, bailiffs, they all worked with helicopter. And I snuck onto the property, and the first thing I did when I got onto the property, confronted all the police and the bailiffs. I said, right, who's in charge? Who's the responsible person? Right? So they pointed me in the direction of a bailiff. So he's come over, like that. I said, right, give me your statutory instrument. Because to execute anything on anybody, you have to have a statutory instrument. It has to be done by consent or through the statutory instrument. You can't just, I've said before, a bailiff without the paperwork is a burglar. Right? Simple as that. You know, you can boil it down to that in every way you want, and see go under the Tort and Interference of Goods Act 1977. That's simple as that. So when I got on there, and this won't take me long to go through it, the copper gave me, and the bailiff gave me that document. Right? Now when I looked at that at the time, I had 30 police and bailiffs around me. I could see that it was an upside down seal. There was the date had been removed, there was no amount, and it said sent from Sheffield County Court by certificate. Right? So I said, okay, this is a fraudulent instrument, and I said to the Inspector Carlton, I suggest you arrest these individuals under section 135 of the County Courts Act, using the document purporting it to come from a county court. He said, I'm content that that's the correct document. I said, fine. So they all picked me up and they carried me off the premises. Correct. So the moment they carried me off the premises, I said, do you accept that that's a correct document? The inspector said, yes. I said, right, you're now fully commercially liable. And me and Linda walked down the road, because I was with Linda. So what I did then is I wrote to Sheffield County Court. Has this document ever come from you? So what I wrote was, urgent verification of issuance of number 66 writ of possession. Please, can you give written confirmation regarding the document enclosed, purported writ of possession, as to whether or not this document was issued from Sheffield County Court. This document was used to forcibly remove families from Bodnam Manor on the 2nd of April 2014, and after a forensic examination of the purported writ, it is hereby declared it is fraudulent. Criminal charges in relation to this are being laid in Worcester Magistrates Court this month, and we require urgent attention. Okay? I then got a response of them, and it says this. Dear Mr. Taylor, with reference to your letter dated the 8th of May, our records show this case has never been at Sheffield County Court. Why? There's never been a court. So, on June the 26th, having listened to what Mr. Ebert's got to say about the procedural non-compliance of these matters, and how everything's based on procedure, don't worry about merit, you ain't going to win. If you think you're going to go down to court and win on the merit, you better buy a lottery ticket on the way down, just in case. Okay? So, I issued this on the 26th of June. I'm doing this for on the record, it's transparent for everybody, right? Okay? Please provide a copy or a printout of all records from the computer database for case number 3HR00142. This request is made in compliance with my statutory rights. CPR 542, supply of documents to parties, including new parties. The documents should be supplied within 48 hours after a written request is received. 541 states the supply of documents from county court records. Any party to proceedings may be supplied from the records of the court with a copy of any document related to those proceedings, including documents filed before the claim was commenced. Right? Which is very important. How do you file documents before a claim's commenced? Well, you can go into that. And the County Courts Act, 1984, section 1.2. Every court so held shall be called a county court, shall record a record and shall have a seal. So I got it receipt stamped, so I've given it there, right? And of course, I didn't hear nothing back. So I thought, the only person that seems to have a problem and seems to want to take this building is this judge who I've had disputes with. So I wrote to this judge because I hadn't received any court documentation. My father had bought this building in the 1980s. So where's the documentation? So I wrote to the judge, and I've read it a few times, so I won't read it again. But it's basically saying, I'm giving you the courtesy of writing to you and saying, will you operate in a private and personal capacity, or will you operate in a public capacity? Please tell me, because then we can move forward. And I did this on the 10th of July, 2014. Right. So I got a response from the courts, and this was on 22nd of July. I have passed your letter of the 10th of July to His Honour Judge Piers Higgins. The judge informs me that your letter does not require any further response. Great. Great. So what I did at that point is I went to Bodmin Manor along with Mark and Tom and all the other good people out me, and I went and took the property back. Because the judge hadn't even confirmed whether the orders were legitimate. So we took it back. We then spent 5 days up there, helicopter, police, all the rest of the nonsense, right? Going on around us, right? I'm there, now there's either going to be one or two things that are going to happen here. Either this guy, if he has got any intelligence, I would say, he would go to Barclays and ask for his money back because he's been sold a bum deal. He's been sold a bent bit of gear. Or he'll get the police. My money was on he'd get the old bill. So he did. That's what he did, he got the police. So after 5 days the police came up and steamed us and en masse and took me away. That was fantastic. That's what I'm saying to you. Everything they do is fantastic. You realise it is beautiful when we do these things. Because the moment they came there, I said to them, right, okay, if you want to get me, you have to break in through the doors, and so you have to break the law. And of course they did so. And took me off. Arrested me for burglary, which is great, because burglary, I can go to Crown Court, I can go to jury. Well, aggravated burglary, well, you know, jury nullification, I mean, great, go in front of a jury, okay? That was the score. But I knew once they charged me, because I tried to do everything I possibly could through the civil court process. And it was all no merit, nonsense, it was all whitewash. And the bottom line is, if you investigate it, you quickly find out that if you've ever been found guilty of anything in a court, whether it be civil or criminal, but especially in the civil, you cannot win on the merits once you've been found guilty. You can't. They won't admit they're wrong. So what they'll do is, they'll try and pretend something else has happened. So you've been convicted of a murder, and they've now found that the DNA was Mark's. Okay, they won't admit they were wrong on the merits of the case. They'll say that the evidentiary value, okay, the process and procedure was wrong at the time, and they'll overthrow it. It's that simple. So that's what I did at that point. Well, I knew then that the police would have to get the evidence that I've been saying doesn't exist inside the county courts. I can prove that there's been no seals, there's been no fee paid, it's all been a shadow court operating. So now, because they've charged me, I'll chuck the ball back to them, go and prove it, that I'm not the owner. And this is what they come back with. So we get big bundles of nonsense, obfuscation as we do. But when you apply for if you ever get charged with a criminal offence, you don't just want the evidence disclosed, you want the evidence that they're not disclosing, and you're entitled to both. They're two piles. One's a pile of evidence that, well, we don't think it's got anything to do with the case, it's going to complicate it. You want that one as well. Because then you find some very interesting things. Again, hold the camera. Yeah. So this is the police schedule of non-sensitive, unused material. So imagine now, they've got to prove that I don't own Bodmin Manor. So they've got to go to the county court and ask this QC for the paperwork. And this is what section 7 says. The relevant material is files held by the county court regarding repossession of Bodmin Manor and the eviction of Taylor. I have requested viewing of these files, which has been denied by Judge Piers Higgins. They've refused. Why? Well, not good. So they made a statement. Yeah. And at the bottom of this it says, during my inquiries into the circumstances surrounding the issuing of court orders by the county court regarding repossession of Bodmin Manor and the eviction of Guy Taylor from Bodmin Manor, I requested from the county court, Hereford, the files held by them relating to the case. Access to the files was denied by Judge Piers Higgins. This was communicated to me by Cheryl Thompson, delivery manager at the county court. I was, however, handed a copy of the possession order. Right? So he's refused and he's used his lackey to try and sort it out. So what I did then, was that effective?
No response.
No response.
That's gone.
So the next situation is this. I had wrote to the court asking for access to my files, and this is what Mr. Reaver's been teaching me for 2 years. It's what everyone should do. If anyone comes to you with paperwork, you want to examine it, don't you? You're not going to accept that someone, oh, excuse me, I'm looking at the paper here. That means I've got your pint. Yeah? You're a mug. You don't do that, right? You want to examine the paperwork, and you want to make sure it's to the prescribed form, and you want to make sure it's procedurally compliant, because all those things, issues, are what kicks it out. So I'd asked the court for my file, and they wouldn't give it me. They wouldn't give me, and there's a criminal case going on now, which the police can't get the files. So the police can't get the files, I can't get the files, and the judge and the police have admitted that he won't give the files. Wow, right? So on the 8th of January, I went and took the original request in with this, and this is what I've said to him, right? Because the judge won't allow the police file, me out of nothing, right? It has come to my attention, request of notice, right? It has come to my attention that I have been the victim of multiple frauds involving individuals falsely claiming to be operating as court officers and falsely claim court proceedings, which in fact of law, have been a private criminal business enterprise. So when I went in and gave them that at the counter, I said, I'm not leaving here because I will arrest you, I will seize this building. There are files in there. They said, no, the judge won't let you have them. I said, I'm not interested in the judge. This is an administrative matter. The court process has already gone through. You're the administrators of this process. If you don't give me them, you're withholding information in the section 2, 3 and 4 of the Fraud Act. Right? I want the files. So at that point, they broke. They gave me the files. And at that point, it all comes clear. That's before I went on to UK College Service. Because when you sit there, and I said, right, it's £10 for the first 10 pages and then 50 pence for everything thereafter. Here's your tenner. Give me the file, and give you a big file out, and slid it across to me. So what you do is, the file works backwards, so the first document goes in last. Yeah? So I turn it all over, and I've just got the plain format. as a claim form, because there's got to be a legitimate claim form. And while I'm doing that, I said, well, I'll tell you what, you can assist me if you go and get the computer printout for me. Oh, I don't know if we're allowed to do that. I said, look, section 541 says any document concerned to me, right? So go get the computer printout, so she got it. And when I got it, so I said, I want it as a guide, because when the case was created, when it started, when everything happened. So she got it. So of course, when I got it, I've gone through it, and quickly I could see it's been operating as shadow court against me. Never gone through the court. When I get to the end, I discover there have been no judgment and no warrant. Right? So now I've already got evidence of a crime, because they were trying to get my consent before they do all that stuff, and that's why they're never going to get that. So that's a very powerful thing. Everyone has to do it. Yeah. But then I got the claim form, and the claim form is very interesting. And this is where you got them, because it has to be procedurally compliant. You couldn't just ring up and say, "Excuse me, I want to take a court action against you." Yeah, okay, and it has to. You have to pay a fee. You have to do. It has to get a seal. It has to be signed statement of truth or affidavit. All that has to happen. So when I get the claim form for possession, I notice there's no seal on it, which means it's not been through the process of the court. I notice there's been no fee paid, and I notice that the signature is an electronic signature, which we can discuss in a minute. So all of a sudden I know there's never been a court case against me. Fantastic. So, but I've got extra stuff, because I've already got now the fact that the police can't investigate the stuff, but I've got it, and it shows that the judge, he wasn't the judge, was operating criminally, refusing to give the stuff over. So where do we go? Now all of a sudden the CPS have got on their hands a very serious crime. It's like arresting me for a shoplifting offence, but knowing that, and I'm saying, oh, Michael Berners is guilty of armed robbery, right? Oh, we're not interested in that, we want the shoplifting offence dealt with. What should be dealt with first? Yeah, of course, a more serious crime. And this is exactly what they're doing with us. So, we've gone through all that, and I've now got a trial on the 6th and 7th of next month, where they have to prove that this guy owns the building. So what they've done, Odden Man has been there 200 years, someone's put an application in to knock it down. They want to knock it down. They put an application into council to knock it down. God, well, if you're not the building, I'm going to get the fuck out of it, get him out of the way. That's what the bottom line is. Yeah? So we're dealing with that, and of course everyone who's involved in that matter is involved with a lien that I've already previously set up, and so it's great. I mean, it's all, look, it's just showing more evidence of crime. So now, I've explained that to you because I want to explain that because I'm in court on the 6th and 7th. It's going to be a case. Anyone wants to come, be great. I want as much support as I can for that case. Monday and Tuesday. It's going to be a trial in Hereford. I want anyone who can come or any talent, because I need public support. Because what happens is, you can go in and give these guys as much shit as you want, right? And they know that you know more than whatever, right? But when there's public support and the building's reverberating with public speaking and muttering in the background, they're frightened, and that's what they need to be. They need to be frightened of us, right? So this is where it lays into more, because upon all that stuff, in the meantime, I'm examining every sort of angle, everything. So the first thing is, well, let's get the land registry. Let's find out what land registry, because land registry must be doing it right. I've paid for them to register my property. They must be doing it right. This is interesting. So I got the official copies of the land registry documents off them. So I've got a thing here called the TR2, it's a transfer document. Now, this must be in a prescribed form. People can't just change property. Surely they could just change your property into being mine without correct procedure. So let's look at it. There's nothing on that document. It's got a consideration on that one. But if you look where the signatures are, and I know the cameras will, you'll be able to see this. It's not witnessed, it's not signed. These documents are supposed to be signed in there, they're not. It's just being transferred by the phone, property that we've owned for 30 years. Then you get an AP document, which is the application for that. Which is, what you've got to realise is every time you do something, so like in Tom's case, you've got a warrant, but you make an application for a request for a warrant, right? And what you'll find is, like in Tom's case, there may be some bogus warrant turns up. So where's the application for the request for that warrant? Oh, well, nobody knows what that is, because it doesn't exist. So you get the AP document, so this is the application for it. And when you go through the application for it, you come across exactly the same thing. And ultimately, at the end, it's not signed. So what I'm saying to you is, this is the last one of those. There you go. Signature of conveyancer, not signed. It's got a date. Ooh, but remember, computers are slaves, not our masters. So the computers managed to get that. There's no signature of the applicant. There's nothing. There's nothing. That's all been done in a shadow private capacity against me. Same as all of us, right? All the way through. So when you take these issues to court, this is a conspiracy theory. My God, this is a conspiracy theory. So I've had this out with them in the magistrate's court because I try and take it as a private criminal prosecution. Well, okay, if they charge me and Mark with conspiracy to commit an armed robbery, and they arrested us and they locked us up, and they put us before the court and they wanted us remanded in custody, we could say, yeah, but it's only conspiracy, that's just a theory, isn't it? Well, no one's actually proved anything, is they? So, you know, we need a jury. Of course it's conspiracy theory, they just abused us by using that terminology. It's bullshit. And so what you have to do is you have to look into patternization. So you have to prove that how did these outrageous things happen. So you go in and you find many, many cases where there have been people in the land registry, criminals in the lawyers who are criminals, not right, they're only in the end, right, okay, and people in the courts. And if you get one called the granny from the land registry, it sums it all up, because you're talking about a granny who's in the land registry. He was there with a conveyancing lawyer, he was there with someone operating inside the court system, and they were changing some 90-year-old bloke down the road, didn't own a penny on his property, and someone's put a charge on his property. And then when he dies, his family don't realise, but he owes all that money out. And this is what's going on to all of us. So none of their documents are procedurally compliant. And check out procedural non-compliance. You haven't broken the law, but you're operating inside a rules and regulation process where you have to be procedurally compliant. T's must be crossed, I's must be dotted. This is why people get found not guilty of the most horrendous crimes when their lawyers, they've been given enough money to show that there's been procedural non-compliance. It's the only way we uproot their system, right? Other than just take them down. Yeah, which again, you know, I'm not adverse to. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying that's the only way. We hold the mirror to what they're doing. Say, right, okay, is everything right? Okay, so it's going to be very interesting in my trial, because the first thing I'm going to do, one of the bailiffs who carried me off the first time, he was in charge of it, because his original document, so go back to the first document, was fraudulent. I took that to the law, that's a fraudulent document. This man's laid hands on me and told 6 others to lay hands on me and carry me off the premises. And the judge, who I knew, he said, you can't be removed from Bodmin Manor based on that. He said, for sure I was. So he initiated assault charges against the bailiffs. I said, great, I can prove, because they haven't got the documentation to support their position, right? Because they're operating inside a box. And we've got them on every level of this stuff. Every single level. So, that's my own personal. If we now move forward to what's going on now, right? And what's going on now is really interesting, because I don't know what response has been doing. I haven't spoken to AD about it, but we've started to get people interested in shit in London. Wow, that's amazed me. You know, for years they're like dead. You know, it's a dead zone. And things have been happening in London, so we've been hitting them in London and giving them paperwork, very brief paperwork. asking to examine the documents that they've got produced that they claim that are compliant with what the rules that they're dealing with. When you get them, they fall apart. All these guys, I don't know what they've been doing for a living for the last 20 years. They've obviously just been chucking paper around and earning large amounts of money at our expense.
No one's been questioning them.
No one's been questioning them. And the only people you do get to question are lawyers. And they're all in the same club, and oh well, you know, we can't undermine the authority of the court. You know, I always say, and I mean, look, I'm preaching the converted here, but the first thing you do when you get a lawyer is you say, right, do you work for me? And they'll say yes. I say, well, thank you. Are you an officer of the court? And I say, which comes first? And don't move from that point. Which comes first? And they will say to you, they're an officer of the court first. Thank you. So when they come there saying that there's been something procedurally non-compliant that's happened, the court, if you give them enough money, right, because that's the only way you'll get that through, all of a sudden, they won't go through the merits of the case. You know, if you've been charged with something that you haven't done, they're not going to go through piles of the merits of the case, you know. They'll just go straight for the process and procedure. And that's where, oh, we got off on the technicality. That's exactly what it is, because the process and the procedure. Without due process, you haven't got law. No law. There is a law of not killing people, murder, right? But I can't just charge you a murder, or you can't be, oh, you're prosecuting a murder. There has to be due process. No due process is no law. So we've got them bound to rights on all this stuff. And we've got them through the civil. Their own petard has been the civil court process. The criminal process still works to it, and that's why I deliberately got arrested, and will get arrested again, through the criminal process, knowing that they have to produce evidence to satisfy merit in what they're saying against me in front of a jury. Now what Carlton was saying about juries, this is where it is. 12 people can find any of us guilty and send us to prison for life. It's not a judge, it's a jury. The 12 of our peers will find us guilty. Well, as Michael and John and people have been investigating, there was previously an examination of this process through the grand jury. So, okay, you go to a grand jury and this 12 to 20 odd people can say that they think there's a case to answer. Not that you're guilty of anything, you may not be guilty, but there is a case to answer. You know, if I arrest you, if I arrest Mark and I find a knife in his bin with his fingerprints on it, etc., and I charge you with murder and he refuses to comment on it, fair enough. That is his right, he refuses to comment. If later I find out that he was in Australia when the murder took place, and that it had been someone else had taken it out of the house, I've charged him correctly. So when we charge people as a private criminal prosecution, it doesn't cost a penny. You don't have to go to a lawyer and hand over loads of coin. You go there and you arrange for an appointment with the magistrates to come on, right? And I've been doing it for years, right? Saying, this guy's a shite, he's done that, whatever. You say your piece in court, and at the end, the judge will decide whether there is a case to answer. And if at the end of 2 hours, he says there's not a case to answer, which I've had on many occasions, I've still got it off my chest, right? When he was allowed it to go through, which I've had on 3 occasions, I've had 3 bailiffs, I had 2 charged with burglary and 1 charged with assault. There's nothing they can do about it, right? Because there's a case to answer. It's called the ghost test. In any criminal behaviour, that there would be, the people of a reasonable standard would think there was a case to be answered, i.e. us, not some donut called a judge. He's there to direct us. And once you've got that through, you can never be sued. You can't be sued by these people because the court has decided there was a case to answer. So you're a winner, it doesn't cost you nothing, you've gone and done it, you've taken up the court's time, you've got it off your chest, you do it as correctly as you can, you know, obviously you want to do things correctly, yeah? But there's no case to answer, no problem, okay, I was wrong, but if I was right, then they can't ever claim money or anything off me, right? Because it's not actually got into the public record. So now we start going to what happened the other day, right? So it's all tied up. It's all really simple, right? If you haven't thought about it long enough, yeah, then you haven't thought about it long enough. It's always simple. Everything's simple. And the process and procedure is a simple thing. You get the claim form. The claim form, right? You go to court. You hand it over. You pay your money. If you don't pay your money, you don't get a civil process. Unless you've got a fee remission with you, right? You hand it over. They seal the document you give out, a signed affidavit, statement of truth, and it's in process. If those key ingredients aren't done, there's never been a case against you. So when you go and investigate your case file, if you've had problems with you can see then if there's actually been a case against you. So back on Thursday, myself and Lee Ravenscroft and a group went to a court case to help a couple who were having their home repossessed. And Mr. Reeves done all the work on all the forensic analysis of the documents, which is awesome. You know, the guy will show you, you can show him a document, and you can read it for a month, I can read it for a month, I won't find out what he finds out. So he's told me exactly what to do in those circumstances, and so I've done it. So we've gone to court, and they're prepared for us. Now we're talking in Manchester, right? They know that there's a group of people coming here. Now these people aren't, but they put in certain documents that the court are thinking, there's a flag gone up here. There's some not correct people coming in. So when we've gone in, they've tried immediately, like bees around the hive, as Lee would say. They've come on us, including the police. Right, we're only allowing the two people in the court that the case is about. Who are you? Who are you? So say, well, we're human beings, we're men and women, and we're not telling you shit, you've asked us to come here. So the first thing is, there's supposed to be two judges for this hearing. So we broke it down. So we didn't go in until we're told that the public can view it, right, as witnesses. So that's agreed. So anyway, cut long story short, I've spoken these circumstances, and so what I've said to the judge is, this is all fraud. So this is what I've done. So I'll read this to you. This is where we went with it. And I'm just trying to tell you, because hopefully you can pick up on shit and do this up. So we, the defendants, make this oral submission. The judge said, no, we've got to let the prosecutor. You're going to listen to me, right? And they said, we've not decided who you are, because there's a question mark over your identity. I said, well, it's certainly not with me. He said, well, who are you? I said, I'm a man. Who are you? I said, you're a man. So I'm now going to read this. So he agreed. So I said this. We, the defendants, make this oral submission for a request from the court to appear on the grounds that we were informed by the County Court Bolton of a hearing dated to declare the proceedings of the purported claim with the number null and void, for it constitutes contempt of court and abuse of process. And then we read and wrote Section 135 of the County Court Act, the Fraud Act, and under common law. Section 135 states that any person who delivers or causes to be delivered to any other person any paper falsely purporting to be a copy of any summons or other process of county court, known it to be false, or acts or professes to act under the false colour of pretence of the process or authority, shall be guilty of an offence and sentenced to 7 years. Right? We have never received any such claim for possession by the Bolton County Court, or that any matter or any other daily constituted court in the land. So we've not even received any of this stuff through a court. Right? So the Fraud Act then gets written down, and practice directions in their realm. You've got to look at it. You know, we're fighting these people, all right? We know they're wrong, but we'll fight them. We'll hold a mirror to what they're doing and fight them inside their own game. Right? And the practice directions state this, right? This is where we pinned them on the fee paid, because the whole thing was, we knew there was no seal, we knew there was, but we were holding them to account in that specific thing. The fee has been paid. And it states that a step may only be taken using possession claims online on payment of the prescribed fee where a fee is payable. So it has to be paid. You can't not pay the fee. Right? If, as is the case, the court fee has not been paid, then the claimant was not entitled to a court hearing or a date, which constitutes an abusive process and harassment of the defendant. The grounds of the above statements are based on the fact that the claimant has not proved that we have been served with any valid claim for possession issued by a court. Therefore, we have not, and we will not, acknowledge the jurisdiction of any court. To proceed with the proceedings, they do not exist in fact or law, as per the overriding objective. We had further informed the court and its officers that we have had opportunity to look at the draft of the claim form for possession, which wasn't issued, and the proceedings are not valid in fact in law as per common law. So where are we with that? Right? So I said to the judge, I know this isn't a court, and I know you're not a judge. But I'm happy to say that you are a judge today, and I'm happy to allow this to be a court, providing you operate inside the boundaries afforded you by legislation. So he said, well, what are they? So I said, what they are is this. Right. And I said, this is what I said when Roger Hayes years ago went to court, and I said, if you read this out, if you read it out, I'll arrest the judge. This is the score. Because when you go to Archbold, which is the criminal pleadings and evidence for this country, you come across contempt of court. And the first thing they'll accuse you of, oh, contempt of court. Knock that one straight at the neck. It's not a court, right? And so the first thing you see under contempt of court is this, and I'll read it out, people probably heard it before. The due administration of justice requires first that all citizens should have unhindered access to the constitutionally established courts of criminal or civil jurisdiction for the determination of disputes as to their legal rights and their liabilities. Sounds sensible to me. Secondly, they should be able to rely upon the arbitrament obtained in the courts, an arbitrament of a tribunal which is free from bias, and I said to the judge at this point, free from bias, right, against any party, and whose decisions will be issued upon those facts only that have been produced in evidence adduced before it in accordance with the procedures according to the courts of law. And thirdly, once the dispute has been submitted to a court of law, they should be able to rely upon there being no usurpation by any other person of the function of that court. Who functions a court? To decide it according to the law. Conduct which is calculated to prejudice any of these requirements or to undermine the public confidence is a contempt of court. So I said, listen, I don't think you're a judge, I don't think this is a court today, but I'm allowing it to be a court and allowing you to be a judge, right? I will consent to that on certain conditions. Right? Otherwise you're usurping it and you're guilty in contempt. And do you know something? You've committed torts against everybody in this building that have come here today to support this case. There's been no fee paid, there's no case. Right? So, they were prepared. This is what I mean, we've got to be careful, but they're sort of like working out shit, right? Or they're listening to us. They said, oh well, hang about. You've received a letter saying off a Mrs. Adams from the court, saying this. I can confirm that the claimant paid £250 to issue the claim, and I cannot provide a copy of the receipt for the court fee, as the fee was not paid to this court. So, we know she's going for possession claims online, or whatever the bullshit is. So, right, fine. I'll tell you what, I said, we're prepared to accept this statement as a factual witness, yeah? And she was sat there, and I said, just get her to sign it. Get her to sign it, and we can move on. We can move on to other matters. And the judge went, she won't sign it. Now, you've got serious problems, haven't you? You're not prepared to sign it, okay? So there's 4 o'clock, oh, let me explain. So the judge then started attacking Evershed's lawyer. And of course he was like, attacking him, saying there was another document that hadn't been processed correctly through the procedure, and that he needed it to be sorted out. And he was begging to the judge, please, I've been given an easy job to stuff some of their property. Please, I can't go back to the office, right, without the result. And in the end, he said, after he'd been going on, it was getting embarrassing. I mean, there was other people there as well at the time. He said to the lawyer, listen, it's not your fault. You've done nothing wrong. And at that moment, he was sort of like, oh God, because he wanted that down for the record. Otherwise, he was going to look like a right mug who went there to try and get a case that should have been 100%, and he couldn't get it. So that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with, as I started off this stuff by saying, The definition of legalese is the fraudulent, and it's not my words, those boys are people me says, but it is the fraudulent conveyance of language to extort rights and privileges. Once you realise that, why would we ever go to these clowns? You know, Michael there, done a job for Tom. If self-litigants, like Tom, could go to court, if Tom had just gone there as a normal person without any support from all of us, they'd have said, your case has no merit, get out the X. Right? Michael done probably better paper than I've ever seen off any lawyers. And I paid serious lawyers for stuff in the past. What happens if we get 106 paragraphs for them to explain their action? Right? Brilliant. But they're never going to make you won. They're not going to give you a gold medal and say, here you go, chaps, there's a certificate. The best you get is a stalemate where they bugger off. In 2009, I won a court case. Well, I lost a court case for council tax. And he said to me, I owe him whatever. I said, yeah, but and all that, you know, back in those days. Have I ever had the bill? No. Have I ever? No, but on the record books it looks like a loss. Yeah? But what the judge does to cover himself, he writes it to remove himself from any liability. You can't appeal something if it doesn't need appealing. I'm going to write, but if you go to the court, and I've done this for them, right? They said, you know, you can make any application you want in here, as long as you pay your 75 quid. Okay, I'll tell you what. Here's 75 quid, I'll make an application. The hours on removes all the pink paint from the premises. Pink paint. Okay, they'll accept it. They'll refuse your application because it doesn't need removing the pink paint. And that's exactly what's going on with it. All of this is fraud. Everything is fraud. From whatever level you take it to, whether it be land registry, whether it be the council, whether it be the banks, it's fraud. And when you research it enough, you find out you've been dealing with fraud. Now it's unfortunate then, because they've had a game where they've all been playing, where they've all been stuffing their pockets full of money, and all right, that's cool. It's the lawyer's game. If a bunch of mentally ill people come over here dressed in fancy dress from an alien planet, they come, oh, we are here to impose the law on you. And we know we dress strange, but trust us. And we're going to use your language, but it's all going to sound foreign to you. You'd say, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Having that? That's what's happened. So these guys truly believe what they're saying. But we've got them nailed on all the process, all the procedure. And just to finish off, you know, I'll tell you, listen, we're dealing with criminals and we're dealing with cowards. And I feel sorry, some judges, I've come across some very good judges, and that one the other day, I've just told you about, was a good judge. He knew the score, yeah? So he bailed himself out. So that means what? He's a coward, really, because he should be standing up for the system, and he isn't, right? So myself and my good friend Lee Ravenscroft, he's had his boat stolen off him. I mean, just literally stole it off him with no paperwork, etc. So Lee's initiated high court proceedings and all that. In the meantime, the lawyers want their coin because they know that that case is going to go wrong. So they want their money. So they've taken Lee's court, and he's got a guy on a par with what Michael's done. Superb guy, you know, Nigel, you know, with a pipe, you know, proper gentleman. He's done paperwork for him, which is awesome, and put it into the court. So they know they're on a loser. In the meantime, the lawyers, knowing they're going to get ripped off, lose out, not ripped off, lose out, have put in to try and get the money off Paul Lee. So Lee's gone there and Lee's put a really good case there. So we've gone there, and who was it? God's mark. The same guy we're talking. So we only went there very quietly because we didn't want to cause a scene or anything. So Lee's gone there and presented himself pretty clean, and basically he's just said, boiling it down to the basics. Lee said, you know there's no paperwork, you know there's no basically criminal, so why should I be paying people who are supporting the criminals any fee? Yeah? Let's wait till it all comes out in the wash. And the judge always pretended to ponder on it and all that. But ultimately ruled in front of his fellow bedmates, you know, and he ruled in favour of them. So at that point Lee got upset. So these are criminals, and you're supporting criminal actions against me. They want $4.5 grand and they want another $3.5 grand for today. So Lee rightfully starts getting cross to these characters, and the judge goes, be quiet, God's mark. So of course at that point I run up to the table, and Lee was right on it anyway. So he said, who do you think you're talking to? So what he did, the judge, he grabbed his paperwork and he ran over it really fast. Right? But we've got to look at this, because when Lee said that to me, I thought, you know, I don't exaggerate, I've had multiple judges run out of the room, right? But He knows the point. They grab their paperwork. That's it. And they're running out like that, right? They're grabbing their fucking crime. They're grabbing their crime. You've caught them, bang at it, right? They ain't letting that go, they run out of the room. So that's what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with the people we fantasise were running this society. We're dealing with criminals, out and out criminals. Yeah? We take them apart with their own process. Mirror. Okay, if you're doing something, it must be in the prescribed form, right? And if there's any procedural non-compliance, we can take it apart. Don't go back on the merits of the case. Oh yeah, but it's been horrible. It won't happen. You go procedure, process. We've got them nailed. And we're trying to help everybody with this, right? It ain't costing any money here. We're trying to get everybody's going to do this. And look, we pushed this thing as far as we can, right? It's going to start coming back to us now. They've broken down, they've gone, right? We're dealing with criminals and cowards, and let's get on with it. Okay?
Tell everybody about the email address to contact you.
Yeah, an email address if you need to get hold of us. It'll take us a few days to get back to you. But it's examindocs@hotmail.com, right? But all we're doing, if you initially see what happens is this, right? You have to realise that the process, that you engage in the process. What we're trying to get is get everyone to go down and get their court file. They're entitled to get their court file. Everyone, right? Okay? You wouldn't give somebody something without examining what's happened, would you? I mean, it'd be bloody silly to do so. So we're giving everybody. But when you go in with the first request of notice, they'll back you off and they'll say, "Oh, you've got to do it in the freedom of information. Oh, you've got the judge won't allow it." That's great because at that moment you know it's because they've got nothing in the file. So you pull them into the game. And that's when you go into the second. But if you go to examine docs, then that's great.
Just let you know, we had a peacekeeper join us in Coventry, and quietly on his own back, he's been doing this for years, and he brought a big thick wad of stuff. They took a house off him, he got it back. He's parking fines now, he don't pay council tax, all that stuff. He don't pay any of that. And every single case, and he's had it confirmed in writing, but every single case he's gone into the court and he's managed to get it. Every single case, and I'm talking about 10, 11, 12 cases here that he's been involved in, his cases. Every single one of them has been thrown out on the process.
No, but it's the only way you can get thrown out. I mean, trust me, right? Trust me, as a younger man.
Really simple stuff. I think you hit on it. That all he does is whenever anybody presents him that he owes them money, council tax, he simply writes to them and say, well, identify yourself and verify that I owe this.
Yeah, go through the process procedure. Don't go through the merits. It's not worth it. It really isn't.
Have you ever tried to use the common law tort of res ipsa loquitur? Facts speak for themselves. Now that is a common law tool that if you go into a common law court, you are then, if you declare res ipsa loquitur, which is Latin for the facts, the thing is what it is. The facts speak for themselves. You can then get another hearing where all the documents have to be gone through to show that verify that the facts are all there.
I don't know about that, and I agree with you, it's probably correct, right? Problem is, I'm sat in front of a judge who doesn't even know what the overriding objective is.
Yeah, sure,
right?
yeah.
So he's not going to listen to anything what I'm going to say, right? Anything I say is just a double dose. Right? I'm not discounting what you're saying, okay? What I'm just saying is, this is what we're dealing with. These guys haven't been questioned on these things, right, okay? Because lawyers are all officers of the court. They don't question shit, right? Unless they get enough wedging. All right, I'll go and get a rag for you, right? It doesn't happen. So all these points are valid if we were operating inside a fair society, which we're operating under law. But we're in the Wild West, remember, right? We are in the Wild West. Miss Riebert calls this Zimbabwe paper, because that's what it is. When you go through these documents, you think, well, and as the Michaels have said, every lawyer is conveyancing lawyer is basically guilty of professional negligence, right? Okay, every one of them. So I mean, what do we expect anything more? We're dealing with a gang, right? There's a gang down the road, there's the Cribs and the Bloods on it, right? And we know the Cribs have robbed your place, right? And there's a couple of real important items you want to keep for yourself. So you go down and say to the few of the boys, oh look man, look, you can keep the telly, you can keep the stereo, you can keep the car, you give me back my jewellery, right? And that's what's happening with the lawyers, that's all that's happening. These guys, you know, why do they earn more in an hour than you earn in a week? Well I'll tell you what, it should be because they do their paperwork correctly. Well I'll tell you what, I can guarantee you, right, okay, that they don't do anything correctly. So when that's proven to be false, that's when we've got them. If they're procedurally non-compliant, they're rule breaking. And I've talked to criminal lawyers about this, because the criminal lawyers are starting to get on the ball with this. I was told I can't cross-examine the one guy, the guy who claims to have bought body manor. I can cross-examine everybody, but not him. So I had to get a lawyer. So I said, okay, I'll have Ian Kelsey, who I know for 20 odd years. He's a criminal barrister, he's a good bloke, I know him. And so I went to see him and I spent 3 hours with him. And at the end of the 3 hours, he said to me, I'll tell you what, I want to introduce you to one of my clients. Because he's got problems with the same judge. And they know, the criminal lawyers know, hang on, excuse me, we're there trying to keep the law together. They're earning hundreds of pounds an hour, yeah, robbing everybody. So he's put me in contact with some of his clients. And of course, this has moved on again, you know, I mean, again, it doesn't matter because it's already on camera, but I mean, Stuart Dodd, I don't know if you know any of you know who he is, yeah? He was a Marine, yeah, Special Services Marine, who the system robbed him, you know. And so then all of a sudden, because we're connecting with guys, and he can't get remedy through their system, he's come to us and said, look, you know, I'll have my kids stolen and my property stolen by these Freemasons, you know. So we've tried to give him hopeful solutions. And of course, then the government slammed that on him. And he's in South America, too frightened to come back. He's been told he's going to be arrested if he gets off the plane. So I mean, you know, so what we do is we have to expose this. We have to say about this. And that's one thing that Brian and I are doing at the QKCon. They are exposing this shit. Yeah. Some people don't like it. Oh, it's all doom and gloom. Yeah, it fucking is. It is all doom and gloom. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, but we don't need any more doom and gloom. We know the score. And this is what Kai was saying about groups. Yes, you do need an active group here, right? Okay, talking about stuff. But what happens is after a short, brief period of time, everyone gets on the same page, and then it doesn't seem to go anywhere. So we need groups doing stuff, talking about stuff, but then we need active groups. Groups are going to do some action. Because action is the only way we're going to work with this. Right? Do action. Sit around talking about it. No. Action. So you move on from, I mean, you guys basically all should be, from everyone that I know here as well, in an action group. And most of you are already, because we've done stuff at Tom. We don't need to sit around and talk about shit. We've talked about it enough. But there are other people that have just gone onto the periphery, and they do need to be spoken to. So we accept that, but it doesn't mean we need to be doing actions, right? And common law actions. Look, everything. The whole civil procedure rule, right, is mediation, negotiation and settlement before the court doors. Don't go to court unless you really need to. Well, that's okay, you owe me money. Michael owes me money, I'll go and take his lawnmower until he pays me the bill. Yeah? That's a common law action, yeah? And it's well, I don't need to go to court every time. Of course, lawyers, all they see is court, money, yeah? Lawyers are the problem, well, all these paedophiles and all that. We'll go into that. We just need to get together, we need to formulate, like we're formulating now, getting people interested in what we're doing, but then moving on, don't just sit there with a pen and paper, we need to get involved in action, doing shit. So the only way we're going to turn this around is to do stuff. Yep. Anyway, that's one lot, right?
Guy Taylor, absolutely amazing man again. When he talked about the overriding objective, that is the tool they use against everyone when they're losing. Guy went into court on Mr. Everett's paperwork and put that in front of them, so he'd taken the rug from underneath them, so they couldn't even use the material that they would normally take all your information away, or your so absolutely fantastic, this man, Mr. Everett, and Guy. There's another case coming along, so hopefully we're going to have some more good news. and then I won't say because it's being recorded, but we'll be going in and doing exactly the same sort of thing, hopefully, and saving somebody else's home. And this is why, unfortunately, the banner fell down. That's Henry, by the way. He's
Shoddy.
yeah, shoddy man.
This banner on the bridge was good though.
Yeah, the banner on the bridge was good. But if the camera's got it, it's response. Come along, support them, join them, and be the active member that Guy just talked about. Just don't do this all the time. Tommy Cooper does a lot of that, it's magic, but nothing happens, it's all fake. Do something for your fellow man and woman, and these people are, and so is the majority of people in this room, which is fantastic. I always thank Anonymous, because those people there, they're out there doing things anonymously, that's where the name comes from, helping people. They've got masks on, but they're doing things. Beat Bailiffs, fantastic group, they're out there doing things. Get a Debt Free, brilliant lot, very clever people working out how to cope with the system. Then you've got local face groups like ours, which is eviction fraud of the bank, or banks. Getting people to send the material in so that we can help them. So join in. If everyone in here told 10 friends what's happening, you'd multiply and it would grow. So that's way forward. Information, because the media out there is going to shut us down. They will not talk about it. Talking about process that Guy was talking about, I took along, after the judgment, there came the order. And I said this on video before, but I took it along to our MP, which is the Shadow Secretary for, he's changed jobs, for, what was it?
Northern Ireland?
No. And I showed him the order that was handed down, and I said, do you know where we went to court? He says, yes. I said, do you understand that we paid the money, we were the claimants? He says, well, yes. And I went through the order, 5 serious mistakes. And he went, okay, I do see that. So now he's taken that and he's now sent it to the Justice Secretary. Where it goes from there, probably the dustbin, but at least we're trying, we're doing things all the time. So that was Vernon Corker. Was it Corker? Corker, that's it, yeah. I walked into the place not far from here. I walked in thinking I'll go into his office. He was standing there and he went, oh, hello Tom. And I went, bloody hell. An MP recognising me, I never thought that would. So take it to them, give them the information. I know we can't change it from the inside, but make them aware that there's a movement, there's something coming down the line, that they will be held accountable by the peacekeepers, by common law, and by grand juries. And if they don't do it, we'll have to do it, and we're doing it now. So our next speaker, I think 99% of people here recognise this man. He is an exceptional. Sorry?
Do you want to have a break first, because it's quite hot. 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minute break then. Yeah. Funny, I stand up here and they all want a break.
It is very hot. Cheers, Tom.
Okay, so now we're into part 4. I'm sorry it's been taking so long, but we've had some brilliant speakers. Our next speaker doesn't need any introduction. He's made films, he's been stand-up comedian, he's been
thought it was Michael now.
No, we got Michael on after. Oh, it's gone, is it? So we got Michael. As long as it's from here, because he's got shorts on, doesn't he? So,
Hey, hang on, I'll go and get some people in.
yeah.
So as soon as this guy gets back,
We'll start again. Hello, folks. So it's part 4, as I said before, and we've had some fantastic speakers. Now, our next speaker doesn't need any introductions. It's Michael Benicia. Is that correct? Oh, Benicia. Oh.
Just call me
Yeah. So it'll be common law and grand juries again, and more information hopefully. So
That wasn't what I planned, but...
right. We've got the wrong Michael again. So no, Michael will talk what he needs to talk about, and you'll be all educated. Okay.
Thank you for that inimitable introduction, Tom. Much appreciated. And I have to also comment, it is quite unusual when someone goes outside to bring people in and doesn't come back. When I comes in, I think he deserves a round of applause for that. I'm almost tempted to tell a joke, but I can't because that's a previous life. But nevertheless, in all seriousness, I want to commend everybody here just for being here. I want to commend everybody involved in the organisation of events like this, because events like this, they have an exponential effect. Some people, or even most people, can't see the ripples, but those of us on the front line who were considered as the nutters in the corner of the room when we first stuck our heads above the parapet, still considered that way by some, but there has been an exponential growth in one thing, and that is the dispensing of the social engineering that was imposed upon all of us, so that we no longer knew as a matter of course, just by having parents who knew as a matter of course the difference between right and wrong. The number of arguments that are taking place on social media about issues that don't even matter. They say all that needs to be said on that subject. People are arguing about issues which not only don't matter, they are there as a distraction from what really does matter. Because the time for debate is over. The time for giving workshops and classes to show people how to go into the system and attempt to obtain a remedy are over. We have demonstrated beyond doubt, and I mean beyond any shadow of doubt, that there is no remedy available in that tyrannical system, because the system is a rigged game. And you're looking at somebody who has no outstanding issues with the Crown House of Rothschild. None, at least, in my name. However, the issue that I do have with the Crown House of Rothschild and every minion who takes orders from it, whether they know or not, is that at least 10 counts of genocide are at play now, as we speak. They are not only trying to take us all out, so all the arguments about white genocide, black genocide, it's just genocide against all of us. They want to take us down, they truly do want to wipe us out, so there's no possibility that we will ever rise up and hold them to account for trying to take us all out. You're looking at somebody who has never not succeeded in obtaining a remedy when I've gone for one, except one time. When a vindictive twat who I went to school with took umbrage at a reunion, and he just so happened to be manager of the enforcement section at a county council where I didn't live. And he took out an enforcement action against me and threatened to arrest me 2 days before Christmas for a purported council tax debt that was not only statute barred because it was more than 6 years out of date, not only did it not have a liability order attached, not only could they not provide a liability order upon the many requests that I gave them, but they ignored all that and said that I owed the debt that was in my ex-wife's name. The CEO of the council was a party to the action. The chief solicitor for the council was a party to the action. They wouldn't back down. Why wouldn't they back down? Because if they back down, they would accept liability for what is nothing less than misconduct in public office by one of their senior officers. That's the only time I ever gave them their blood money, because that's what it is, in order that my daughter and my wife weren't deprived of my presence over Christmas. The only time. But I tell you what, the days of people like him who can get away with it and be protected by the purported authorities that have imposed themselves upon us are over. And I'm not saying they're going to be over, they are over. Before we get near the fraud that the banks have perpetrated, the multiple institutionalised frauds that have been perpetrated against us by the banksters, that's even before we get near that. So I want to give you just a little insight as to why I feel so passionate about this. Because once, when I was 18 years old, and I've told this story once before, but once when I was 18 years old, I had to stand by and watch the Queen's men steal my family's home. And I knew it was wrong. And when the official receiver's assistant, who was responsible for a fraudulent action against my father, and they were stealing a house that wasn't even in his name because of a purported bankruptcy that he admitted at a time of great recession for everybody. And they took our family home, which wasn't even in his name, and the smug bastard who drove up just to check that we'd been evicted, I was standing on the lawn and he pulled up in his, I think it was an E-type Jag, and he wound his window down and he had a smug look on his face. And he said, "Tell your dad that if all this stuff isn't out of the house, it's just going to be tipped." And I looked at him and I thought about, in that nanosecond, everything that I'd ever done in my life in a situation like this, and I knew I couldn't do any of those things. So instead, I gave him 10 seconds. And I said, if you're not gone in 10 seconds, I won't be responsible for my actions. And he went. But they still took our property. And it really irks me. But not just irks. To have witnessed the number of people that I have their homes stolen from them under not only false claims, claims that amount to institutionalised frauds, which are not only protected by the courts and all of the officers within them, they make financial gain. In fact, the county court makes more financial gain in mortgage-related proceedings than anything else by, I don't know what the margin is, but it's significant. So what I'm saying is, again I reiterate, in the event that anybody needs further clarity, when, and it's happening now, when in every community there is a grand jury that is ready at any time, just with people from the community, to hear these criminal allegations, which, as Kai said, 2 affidavits in support of the facts is all that is required. Convene a grand jury, do it properly, keep it private, don't let anybody know who the grand jurors are, and they'll either reach a verdict that there is a case to answer or there isn't. And then, if there is, a petty jury is convened. And this can be convened in any location that can be considered a room suitable for a court proceeding. But not under their rules. You don't need their rules. You don't need them. In fact, they are the last people that you need. The last people. So in every community you've got a grand jury where those criminal allegations can be heard, and this has to be grassroots. No one's going to do it for us. We all, there you go. Bringing the house down again. Right. No one is going to do it for us. We've got to do it ourselves. We all got to lead by example. There is no other way. There just isn't. So what I am reiterating again, as others have already said, don't let the people who you trust and you love in your life, don't let them continue without having this information. Don't let them. You can't convince them that you're right, but you can let them have the information. You can. Now, part of that part of that. The reason why Michael and I and everybody involved has gone to so much effort to make a documentary film about the Great British Mortgage Swindle, called The Great British Mortgage Swindle, is because that one issue, I wish it was another issue for many different reasons, but that one issue, the mortgage fraud, affects 50 million people on these islands now. Because there are 50 million people living in void mortgaged properties. 50 million. That is the target audience of the Great British Mortgage Swindle, which will be released in selected cinemas from mid-August, starting in Nottingham, and we're going to take it on a tour around the country. The DVD and the Blu-ray, for anyone that wants it, are going to be available as well, and it's also going to be online on video demand, and there will also be a free version for those who are unable to make any kind of contribution to the efforts that we've made. Nevertheless, the issues in this are so incendiary because it is an indictment of the miscarriages of justice that are being witnessed right throughout the country over these issues. What I'm telling you is, we beat them from the first time we stood up in court and made these arguments that the mortgages were void on the basis that they didn't comply with the law of mortgages. And we filled in all the blanks, we pieced it all together, we gave them their case law, we gave them their High Court and their Court of Appeal judgments, we even gave them Supreme Court judgments, and it wasn't enough. And it wasn't enough, because had we succeeded in the High Court with the initial proceedings, everybody would have had a binding legal precedent to rely on in every subsequent set of mortgage proceedings. They couldn't let that happen. So in the end, like they did to Michael, like they did to so many others, they banned me from every civil court in the land without getting the permission of one of the judges responsible for a series of miscarriages of justice against us. Now let me just, this is more amusing than galling these days, because he really did shoot himself through both feet at the same time. The judge involved actually argued in the first hearing we were before him, Judge Berens, he argued that the Law of Property Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1989 was not applicable to the mortgages. He then argued in a subsequent hearing in proceedings brought by the bank that it was applicable and there was nothing he could do. He had to agree that at least one of the mortgages, and it was only one mortgage that these proceedings were about, was void. However, the bank, even though they didn't have a contract, the bank was entitled to a new mortgage. And if the trustees were unwilling to sign it, which they weren't, he was willing to give permission to a district judge to sign it for them. And that's because we won. That's because we won. So they created this new void mortgage, which they haven't been able to get registered in almost a year, because we were already ahead of the game, because we knew they didn't do this. So we'd already got prepared an application at the land registry, and my dad has been engaged in heated negotiations with the chief land registrar for the best part of the last 6 months, because he's refusing to accept that on exactly the same grounds that the first mortgage was set aside as void and cancelled in the land registry, even though the circumstances and grounds are identical in another 9 mortgages, it doesn't apply in this case. That's how ridiculous it is. They're in meltdown. They don't know what to do. The legal professions have been taught to think in tramlines. They have to specialise in a certain part of the law, therefore they end up being ignorant as to the rest of the law. So let's just imagine that you're taught in conveyancing solicitor school that, oh yes, the mortgages, well, it's very easy really. Someone comes into a bank and they say, okay, I'd like a mortgage. The bank says, right, well, you've got securities that you can put up in the form of your income, so I'll grant you a mortgage. All you have to do is sign the paperwork. Just sign the paperwork and we'll give you the money. So, excited that they're going to get on the property ladder, people buy, they accept the mortgage, and most of them don't check the terms and conditions, and if they did, they'd never sign. Not the right amount. But this is also because their solicitor, the conveyancing solicitor, is actually telling them Well, don't worry about this, I prepared it all for you. All you got to do is sign this deed here, and I'll get it witnessed, and then the bank will receive that, and then you should get the credit not long after. Only, why is it that you're getting legal advice from a solicitor who is telling you that you can grant a mortgage, which is a charge, on a property that you don't own yet, because you're going to the bank for the money to buy it? Why is it that when you suggest this to a conveyancing solicitor, they have a nervous breakdown? Because it's fraud. It's institutionalized fraud. They not only do it every time, they've been doing it every time for decades. That means everybody, no matter what happens to their house, no matter what happens with and related to the mortgage, everybody has a claim for professional negligence against the conveyancing solicitor who actually gave them illegal advice, not legal advice. But it gets worse than that. They're also working for the bank on the other side of the transaction. And they very rarely disclose that to you. But they say, oh no, that, so there's no problem. You know, I just make sure it all gets registered. Right, so you're saying that you're making sure it all gets registered with me having signed this deed, which I'm a bit nervous about because I don't actually own the property. Yes, but that's just standard practice, don't worry about it. Standard practice of institutionalized fraud because of the ignorance of the legal professions. It's been manufactured, but it's still ignorance. That's why they have nervous breakdowns. There isn't a single professional indemnity insurance policy that any law firm has that could cover the level of claims that are actually due and payable. Hence, when Michael went into the court making that exact argument, but he delivered it in such a way where they were banged to rights. So they send up one of the judicial assassins, who was one of, I'm sure, did you mention this when I was out the room before?
No, feel free to review all mine.
The judge who was giving Tony Blair legal advice, the chief solicitor, the Solicitor General, Ross Cranston, he gave Tony Blair legal advice in the 2 years preceding the Iraq War, then he resigned for obvious reasons. Because all of the advice he gave was that the war would be deemed illegal or that they could get away with it. This is the same man they sent to shaft Michael in Nottingham County Court because he had a valid professional negligence claim against the legal professional involved. Now, Michael wasn't even told that he was going to be the judge. He wasn't even told. In fact, he was told it was going to be a different judge, Judge Nicol. And the legal professionals on the other side didn't even tell him that it was a different judge, even though they had been informed. All in it together, eh? All in it together. The barrister, Oxbridge educated, went to a college that is famous for producing arch Fabians, aristocratic Fabians, who see it as their duty to cull the herd to a manageable number, who are taken aside and taught these techniques of sophistry in order to keep us confused. I've made enough to know. Now, given all of that, given the fact that we may well have succeeded in Tom's case and in the case of the trustees that I've been involved in, we may well have succeeded in setting precedents, even though it's no binding precedent in the county court. We have set the precedent of a judge actually admitting, well, you know, I'm sorry, but computer printouts, they're not evidence of a debt. How does a computer know? Who fed the information? We've been making this argument in every court for 6 years. They'd previously thrown it out as totally without merit. Can you see why he was backpedaling? He didn't have another option if he wanted to keep his job. The owners of the bank who are trying to steal from Tom and his family, or were, they are the same paymasters as the judge who was presiding. Conflict of interest, anyone? Surely not. Surely not. Right, now, so what I'm telling you is, if in every community we only have two things. First thing is a grand jury where people can take their complaints and be heard properly. And if there's a case to be heard, then it moves to a petty jury, and if a petty jury rules that a party is guilty, there isn't any jurisdiction that the Crown can claim to go around the verdict of a jury. There isn't. It's impossible. I don't even know how they would try to argue. Right? If we've got that and a set of peacekeepers in every community that has to rise up organically, it's as simple as wherever you live. If there isn't a group of peacekeepers already convened, convene one. I'm going to do it in Newcastle. I think it's time that the Geordies started to get angry about all this. But you have to understand, we've had fluoride for longer than everybody else. And when they fucking realise, I swear.
Lovely teeth, though.
Hey?
You got lovely teeth, though.
Well, you haven't seen the rest of them, Tom. Nevertheless, it's just those two things. Because what Kai was saying is exactly correct. If you can't rely on so-called law enforcement to enforce the law as it was meant to be applied, provided it's meant to be applied in favour of the people, which increasingly statutes aren't, but there are an awful lot of ancient laws and principles which form the common law. And whatever the judges and the legal professionals tell you about the common law being what judges tell you it is, it's not. It's what the people determine that it is through common practice. And if we don't say that the common practice of turning your back on the genocide of your so-called government and its operatives, if we don't say that is a morally reprehensible act, then we're condemning our children to either certain death or servitude.
Michael, can I just say something, right? I presume everyone knows this. Check out jury nullification.
Yes.
You must. Because we've got the power to do whatever we want, right? Okay? It's our law, man. It's not theirs.
Clark's trying to do away with juries.
Well,
not anymore.
Is that? Well, he's trying.
They're trying, but
jury nullification is the
now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. At the moment, I would imagine, how many in this room are not within the jurisdiction of the Crown? By show of hands.
Everybody.
No. I'm saying,
You said that again. Within the
right.
jurisdiction.
Who within the room has no possibility of the Crown claiming jurisdiction over them correctly? Right. How have you done it?
I've got a letter approving it.
But just in a nutshell, how have you achieved that?
Because I said I'm a man, and I challenge him on... could I read this letter out, please?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. Please find enclosed copies of letters between myself and your Crown servants who work for the corporation called Roxton Borough Council, whom I hold yourselves responsible for, between myself and the local government ombudsman. And my original letter to yourselves dated the 10th of November 2014. With it, it's to the Crown.
That's all right.
Okay. Within these letters is rock solid evidence that the birth certificate belongs to the Crown. This is also confirmed by you not claiming against my letter of the 10th of November 1914. Please read my letter to the local government ombudsman dated the 19th of February 2015. Therefore, as the date of my letter to yourselves on the 10th of November 1914, all contracts implied or otherwise are now terminated. All correspondence addressed to Michael Regan in capitals from the public side will be returned to yourselves. The Crown Corporation is a global estate trustee, and therefore I am the beneficiary of the trust and not the trustee. Also, the birth certificate is a bond that the Crown Corporation has monetarised. All the above is breaking universal law. Universal law. Treating me and all of the living people as being dead by virtue of using the dead legal fiction on the birth certificate. Would you please comment in detail on this matter by the 7th of May 2015? If I do not hear from you, I will see this as permanent, irrevocable, lawful estoppel by acquittal, and they never replied.
They generally don't.
They generally don't.
thing is, there isn't any single individual attempting to put together their own remedy that I don't absolutely admire and respect. So much admiration and respect. I hope the bastards leave you alone. In my experience, they usually don't. And they'll ignore what you've done there are a couple of reasons.
Okay.
But now, I hope they don't. I'm saying it, but I've seen it happen so many times because I've been doing this since 2008 when no one was doing this.
Can I please say something against that? I sent a letter to the Crown because if you look on your birth certificate, it says, warning, do not use this as identification.
I need to take you on this issue.
This is a spiritual thing.
I understand.
Why would they say that? Because there is a power of...
I can tell you why. Because they use the birth certificate.
I'll listen to you.
That's why. Because they can't use that birth certificate as a form of identity, and they do use it. They don't hypothecate it as any kind of bond. What they do is, every child that's registered, and bear in mind, I'm sure most of you already know, but for those that don't, I developed a remedy for not registering children, and I did it for the same spiritual grounds. So I completely empathise with the position that you've taken, and as I say, I admire it. I'm only saying this just from my own research and my own experience of dealing with these issues. The registration is the registration of a future tax slave, and the confirmation that the tax slave has consented comes when they start to work and they get their national insurance number. And there is an annuity, a life annuity created in the name of every child that's registered by the National Debt Commissioners. And the National Debt Commissioners appoint someone called a Comptroller General to deal with these annuities. And what they do, pursuant to the CAFR Act 1666, which nevertheless is still woefully misinterpreted by some, but that's a different issue. What they do is they assume if nobody collects the beneficial interest of this annuity, which is paid out every single quarter in the name of every child registered, if that is never claimed by the parents on behalf of the child, it automatically escheats to the Crown and is claimed and consolidated in the government's consolidated fund, which is basically their war chest.
So it's salvage tax?
It's salvage, yes.
Yeah.
Now, the Crown get paid a fee as well as interest on every single annuity. And I have to also just say that, okay, so that glass in front of me, is that alive? Is that alive, anyone? No. Right, why is it not alive? It has no life.
It's got no soul or intelligence.
Yes, but it's got no life at all. It is lifeless. Can that glass die? No. Right, so why can a name be dead? It can't. Just like a glass can't be dead. A name can't be dead because it never had life to lose. And I know lots of people get very angry when I say this. But nevertheless, it is the case. That which has never been live cannot die. Right? And these people will tell you that the remedy is giving up your name because it isn't your name, because the Crown copyrighted it on the birth certificate. It says Crown copyright on the birth certificate. Yes, that's Crown copyright of the form of the birth certificate. Because if it was Crown copyright of every word on the birth certificate, including the words making up your name, they would also claim copyright of all the other words on the birth certificate, including the words making up the registrar's name. Yeah.
Michael, the king is dead. Long live the king! It's right.
I don't believe in monarchy.
No, but that's where it goes.
Yes.
Michael,
yes.
The name is fiction.
Fiction isn't dead. It is fiction, you're right.
I'm alive.
Yes, but hang on, I'm not saying you are your name. This is the point that I think from your letter that I need to just stress. What I'm trying to tell you is, fictions aren't dead because they never had life. Only flesh and blood can die, of any nature. So what I'm telling you is, you are not your name. I've never said you were. Some people say that I'm saying you are your name because I say names are not dead. What I'm telling you is, the CAFR Act, the misinterpretation of it is responsible for this, and one man who is known by many to be an agent who has disappeared from the scene is the man who put around the rumour that your name is owned by the Crown. It isn't. The Crown use your name under a disgraceful legal doctrine called, and write this down if you're interested in this subject, usufruct. USU fruct. F-R-U-C-T.
Michael, please, an act is fiction.
I'm not talking about, I'm not arguing with you on
Jurisdiction
fiction.
over me, what? It's just fiction, it's got
It
no
is, yes.
jurisdiction over
But I'm
me.
not arguing about that.
Okay.
I agree with you. It is fiction. It hasn't got any jurisdiction again over you without your consent. And if you revoke your consent, it's got no jurisdiction over you. But if you take benefit privileges from the state because you need it to feed your family like so many do, they'll say that you're their property. They'll say they own your ass because you can't survive without them. This is what they want. All this talk about a universal living wage, do you know what that is? One of the tenets of communism. It's what they had in Eastern Europe before the wall came down. This is, be under no illusions. Over the last 100 years, more people have been wiped off the face of the earth by governments than at any time during the history of mankind, so in known history.
Genocide.
Democide, that's right. It's a policy of wiping out whole civilizations, especially the ones that tend to rise up and crush empire every now and again. Now, I'm not saying that the only solution is to rise up and take up arms. I'm saying that from the ground up, if we actually put our bodies over the wheels of the in front of the wheels of the machine, and there's enough of them surrounding the machine, much like the taxi drivers did to all the people who broke the strike last week in France, the machine cannot progress. It cannot move forward. These courts need to be shut down. Only groups of peacekeepers under the protection of a different jurisdiction, which is a jurisdiction which any indigenous peoples on this planet can claim. It doesn't belong to one territory, it belongs to every indigenous individual. It's the jurisdiction of Universal Community Trust. Look up the UCT Treaty in case you haven't already. It's 7 pages, there's a video which makes it easy to watch and take in. You might need to watch it 2 or 3 times before you realise it all boils down to one fundamental principle of natural law. My rights only end where yours begin. In other words, do no harm, but take no shit. And that is what should be the whole of the law.
That's universal law, man.
Exactly. So now you can say I agree with you. Yeah. I agree. It has to stop. It has to stop. So, I think that's pretty much it. That's the message that I had for you, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Brilliant.
Truth. Once again, he's talking about united. The attack that came on my family and myself was specifically to divide people. We don't need division, we need to all come together, as Guy said, and Kai said, and they're very similar. So,
it's only a G difference.
You need to come together and form groups. We've got a lady who's now going to run the Nottingham Peacekeepers, and let us grow from there. Nottingham is probably the most active area in the country.
Without a doubt. Hey, without a doubt, right, we're in Nottingham, right? Let me tell you from my experience, Nottingham is the focus of everything, right? Yeah, but also, we've got the most attention going on here, right, okay? If anything's going to happen, it's in Nottingham, right? And that's where we are. So let's get on and do it.
Yeah, there's another little bit.
More Robin Hood spirit, that's what we need. More Robin Hood spirit.
A gentleman has just offered, we were talking about having a conference, this is new to me, I've just found out, a conference and a festival. And this gentleman's offered a place in Sherwood Forest, right? It's got a dome, like down in London, not as big. So that might be coming off. We wanted it in July to coincide, but now we've got the celebration of response. So they don't normally lie there, they stand out and be counted. and the attempted eviction of Sue and myself. That's coming out on the 25th of July, so please come along, celebrate our victories.
Can I have a last word on this, right? Okay, because you know I like last word, right? Okay. Listen, we've worked out that in every city in this country we've got corrupt Freemasons operating. I think we all realise that. Okay.
Yeah.
Inside those groups, there's no more. In Nottingham, right? There's no more than 8 people running this town. Council, police, environment, and them guys are all connected. So them 8 criminals are the ones we need to address, right? So we take it to them personally, right? We got a problem. Melanie Shaw situation, terrible, right? Who's the judge who's organising all this shit? Well, let's go to his house, sit on his garden lawn, and when he opens his curtains in the morning, we're there. Right? Simple as. Yeah. Well, let's make some reality, right? I've had loads of fantasies, but with lots of people, let's make a reality, yeah. Let's do it. Who are these people? Don't think they're out of they're out of our realm. They ain't. We go and take it to them. Who are these characters? But what we need brave people, and if people aren't brave enough to do it, if you're supporting us, support us, be there. You know, just be there. We'll do the shit, just support us by standing there, yeah? I mean, do you see those people, those brave people, right, who try to take out the government with the mobility scooters? I mean, what a salute to them.
One of them had a hat on like this.
Listen, man, you imagine in the history books, the first line of attack was the disabled. They say this better than me. They went to the House of Parliament and tried to... What wonderful people, yeah? Because they have no choice. But we've got the choices and we've got to give it to these people. We've got to put it on them. We've got to start acting, right? So it's great. And the thing is, I know most of you people in this room, who I know, are active, right? We need to enthrall people to come to meetings, but we need we need to do shit now. Let's do it. Let's get on with it, right? They can't beat us inside their own rules and regulations. Let's kick their ass, right? So,
I don't know who that was. It comes up every week. But yeah, so basically it's been a brilliant meeting. Now we're going to go to an open mic. But before then, I'd just like to make a special thanks to Sue, my wife, because she's lost her mother. We've been under attack by these people, and she's been bombarded by what's been happening to the family, what's been happening on the greater scale of things, and her mother. So I'd just like you all, if you'd be so kind, give her an applause of being behind me. They say this a wonderful woman, and she's been absolutely brilliant considering the situation she ended up in. So now we're going to an open mic, and put your hands up. Well, there is no mic, just stand up and speak. So who would like to kick off? Oh, guys, go on, so we can't start it. Is there no open mic? Has anybody got anything to actually say?
You know, you're saying about the juries, you can nullify, you say you can't nullify a jury's verdict, you can't you based on like, give information out to
no, grand juries.
Not nullify a jury, sorry, if you get a jury member of the jury, if they expose
you'd have to speak to probably John Post about the technicalities or something like that.
It's if you need information out.
Yeah, you can't nullify a grand jury, the highest authority.
Independent from anything anyway.
There has to be another proceeding issued by a grand jury in order to nullify a grand jury's decision.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah. So, and then you've got a conflict, and then it would have to go to another grand jury.
Yeah, it would.
And they'd all have to sit down and discuss. So you'd have to get another, whether it's 12 or 23 or 25, to come to a decision. One can't just nullify another, that would be a big decision. I didn't realise it was my overnight.
So if a grand jury of 24 gave a decision, could a grand jury of 12 knock that decision out?
I don't believe so. You're asking the wrong person here. I mean,
if a grand jury of 24 gave a decision and said that such and such is guilty, could a grand jury of 12 nullify the 24 grand jury's decision?
Yes.
or be held in...
But it has to be at least 30 anyway, but yes, can.
So it's not 100?
No, it's not, you only need, it's 12 or 13 that you absolutely must have. 12 or 13.
I'm not an expert on grand juries. I'd just like to... There's always one in the audience that asks sort of questions.
What was said earlier, in the grand jury, they decide that there's something to be answered, isn't it?
Yeah,
they
that's
give
it.
a petty jury and they find them guilty or not.
Yeah.
It's not down to the grand jury.
The petty jury actually gives a decision, don't they?
Yeah, the petty jury gives a decision. The grand jury it doesn't hear any evidence from the defendants. It's only whether or not there's enough evidence for a petty jury to be convened to hear the allegations. Nothing else. So just evidence, basically, what they fail to consider every time in their court.
Okay, well I think we've come to the end of the meeting and it's been absolutely amazing. The information that's come out has been brilliant, as normal, and I'd like everybody to put their hands together and thank all the speakers and all those that came along for all yourselves.
Debt Free TV, in association with GetOutOfDebtFree.org.